in regards to both Alabama and Auburn's record heading into the Iron Bowl. But here we are. Should be a very interesting week on this program. We will have plenty of time to preview what's going to potentially happen on Saturday, but we got to start with the weekend. It was just a absolutely wild weekend for both Alabama and Auburn. For Alabama fans, the CFP is now completely done, finished. I don't want to hear anything about, well, there's still a 16.6% chance of you making it. No, you don't want to go to the CFP based on what we saw over the weekend. Meanwhile, Auburn gets a huge win, as that is potentially going to propel them into the postseason if they can get a win at the Iron Bowl. So a very interesting weekend.
Yeah, starting with Alabama in Norman, Oklahoma, I thought that we would get a good effort from Brent Venables, at least on the defensive side of the ball, in holding Alabama down and some of their explosiveness and what they've been able to do for the most part on offense this season, Pat. But my goodness, never expected that effort or the lack thereof from Alabama, going on the road and knowing what was at stake. And right now I'm thinking, and we could say this about a couple of other SEC teams, that maybe you're playing your best ball of the season and you got it figured out and all the wrinkles you were able to get ironed out, but that was not the case. Meanwhile, for Auburn, finally getting over the hump, I'm sure Auburn fans were sitting there with a 21-0 lead going, okay, not going to start celebrating, and almost found a way to lose another heartbreaker. But that was good, and maybe sets up a little bit more drama, anticipation for this weekend in Tuscaloosa.
Well, the bummer part about it, for what we do for a living, for the second time in the last 3 years, the Iron Bowl has virtually no impact on the college football playoff. It's a game that used to decide the SEC West. It used to shape the national championship race. It has now eroded to a rivalry that is just in-state bragging rights. That's all it is. Because once again, this game will have absolutely nothing to do with the SEC championship or the college football playoff.
Oh, prior to the start of the season, if I said these two teams are going to have 9 combined losses coming into the game, nobody would have believed that. And when was the last time these two teams had 9 combined losses? I can think back to Auburn going 3-9 in 2012. So, and maybe that was the last time, but that wouldn't even be combined. That would just be one team with all of those losses. But yeah, it's kind of weird, but maybe it builds up more excitement, more anticipation. Auburn
I think
fans got a little bit more confidence.
Well, I think
Alabama
for one
fans.
side, absolutely. I can't wait to see how many Alabama fans will be ditching their tickets, because I think Auburn is the team that will obviously have the momentum moving forward to potentially go to Bryant-Denny. Because why would a 12, 13, or 14-point spread scare any Auburn fan? Based on the fact that Alabama has more losses this year, being a 2-touchdown favorite.
Well, and now if you're an Alabama fan, if your first goal of the season was to get to an SEC championship and win one, get to a college football being next, and then ultimately win a national title, that being out the door, maybe you just set your folks on bragging rights. That's what we used to do in the state. Just good old bragging rights, 365 days.
That was back in the old days.
That was pre-Saban.
Yeah, that was back in the days when UPI and AP voters decided who the national champion was.
Under Nick Saban, bragging rights became that kind of window dressing for most years, where it was, and we beat our rival.
Well, we've got plenty to talk about, and we want to hear from you. This is Reaction Monday. Let's set the stage of what's coming up on the program. At the bottom of the hour, Nick Kelly will join us. He was there with Conrad there in Norman, Oklahoma. We will talk to Nick Kelly at 10:30. At 11 o'clock, we will hear from Hugh Freeze, his weekly press conference down on the Plains, as the Auburn Tigers now go into the final game of the season with a chance to get to a bowl game. At noon, we'll hear from Kalen DeBoer. Hopefully, he'll give us an update on some injuries for Alabama and how do you right the ship? I mean, all of a sudden, all these goals that you heard all these players talk about after these losses, that's out the window. It's it. So how does this team pull itself up and perform in front of the home crowd on Senior Day, the final time you're going to get to see Malachi Moore and a lot of other these players that's given so much to the program? Let's see what the leadership is going to look like come Saturday against Auburn. Bill Clark will join us at 1 o'clock, as he does customarily on this program, as we will break down. But we want to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450.
What was your anticipation of what we would hear from Alabama fans after the game? Because I did see some things yesterday, but Maybe not the outcry that I expected, but then again, I had other stuff going on, so I wasn't just constantly going through message boards and sites.
Well, this is not an excuse by any stretch of the imagination, but the first two losses of the season for Alabama, not that they were justified, but you could kind of see it working out. I mean, when you throw a pick six against Vanderbilt, you go behind early.
Yeah.
At least Alabama was fighting until the end of that game. In the Tennessee game, they looked like they were prepared. They were just making some really boneheaded mistakes from a penalty standpoint, drop balls, things of that nature. Whereas the Oklahoma game, that should be the one that distresses people like Conrad out the most, not because he drove 20 hours this weekend to go watch the Tide lose, but the bottom line was they were not prepared for that football game. What they did the week prior, I mean, listen, you had 2 weeks. You had Mercer, okay? So you come off that LSU win, so you really didn't have to do a lot to prepare for Mercer. You should be gearing ready for Oklahoma. Now, it was obviously apparent to me that what happened is Oklahoma used their bye week to basically install the Vanderbilt offense. That's basically what they did. Alabama couldn't stop the Vandy offense, and by golly, Alabama couldn't stop the Oklahoma offense.
Well, yeah, because it was Jackson Dart, the read option, which I thought he ran beautifully. But even some of the short throws, if you want to call them like a short slant in tight spaces, and we saw that at critical times. You saw that all season long from Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt offense. You saw some of that, but what was also very telling going into the game, we thought, all right, this Oklahoma team, they're going to be very limited offensively in what they can do. 81% of their 62 snaps were runs. It was either by Jackson Arnold or giving it to the tailback. Alabama had trouble. They've had trouble stopping the run, but as far as a running quarterback, and we saw them have success and limit South Carolina and a very dynamic guy, but Diego Pavia and what he was able to do in Vanderbilt, and even getting some of those 3-4 yard runs to set him up in short down and distances, that helped. But Jackson Arnold, goodness, only got to throw 11 passes and win a game. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. Conrad, this morning on Morning Jocks, I heard you and Damien, and I mean, I think you said it best in regards to just the layman, just putting the eyeballs in the game. You could see real early what Alabama was going to need to do defensively, and they just never adjusted.
Yeah, I thought the play calling on both sides of the ball was atrocious, to be completely honest with you. The fact that your game plan defensively was not to sell out to stop the run and force Jackson Arnold to beat you with his arm, which is essentially what Oklahoma's defense did to Alabama, that is perplexing, and that is unexcusable because, again, I'm not saying that I should be on the coaching staff of any sort of college football team, but I think we all knew that going in, that should have been the game plan. It's not difficult. It's almost like Alabama wanted to make things more difficult than it had to be and almost overthought what their game plan was. That part of it was perplexing, and I think you could say similar things about the offensive side of the ball. When you run with the quarterback right up the middle for 1 yard 2-3 times in the first couple of drives, and then you keep going back to it and keep going back to it and saying, well, maybe it'll work this time. I don't have an answer for you, Nick Sheridan. Like, did you just copy and paste a lot of the things you wanted to do against LSU? I don't. And part of it was on Milroe, right? There were a number of times where he could have easily picked up 5, 6, 7 yards, kept things rolling, and instead he would try to go to the outside, hit the sideline, and he was trying to make the big play, right? And you just can't do that. And I think, we've talked about this a lot with Jalen Milroe over the last 2 years is, you look at this game and you go back and look at the Texas game early last year. A lot of the mistakes that he made were very similar, including the interception that was a pick six. I mean, it's a spitting image of what we saw against Texas last year. And I think that's where you see some of the frustrations and some of the things that we heard about Coach Saban last year and some of the things we've heard this year is he can make the spectacular play. And when he is on and he is playing his A game, he might be the best quarterback in college football. But too often, he brings not his B game, not his C game. He brings his F game. He is an absolute just disaster on the field at times. And that's what you saw on Saturday. And part of it was play calling didn't put him in good positions, but you have to be able to make better decisions, both passing and running the ball. You've been a starter for 2 seasons now in the SEC, and you continue to make these same mistakes. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. The offense is built around him. I get it, but I mean, I thought he should have been benched in that game. He deserved to be benched. He was terrible, And no Alabama fan should have had any confidence that he had any ability to bring you back on Saturday night.
Alabama is held without a touchdown for the first time since the it was 2011. Yeah, it was 2011. Yep, game of the century. It was a 9-6 overtime loss. Tide had 234 total yards of offense, the fewest since 2014. I mean, we're not talking about you were playing the Georgia defense from a couple years ago. You're playing Oklahoma. A respectable defense? Yes. The best part of their football team was their defense? Yes. But to score 3 points in this day and age of college football, that is inexcusable.
Oklahoma had beaten one SEC team, and it was Auburn, who literally threw the game away at the end for Oklahoma. And that's the team that just dominated you.
So Milroe, 2 passing touchdowns and 6 interceptions in Bama's 3 losses. He's got 28 yards rushing in 3 losses for Alabama. 28 in 3 losses. You can do the math. As Landrum pointed out, the Oklahoma rushing attack, 257 yards, 33 more than the Tire's entire offensive production. Think about that. They had more rushing yards than Bama had total yards on the night. Jackson Arnold goes for 131. He had not rushed for more than 45 yards in any SEC contest until Saturday night. And by the way, he only needed to throw for 68 yards. 68. That's all. Alabama now is 12th in the SEC against the run, 62nd nationally against the run. And you're going up against an Auburn team that is finding its stride the second half of the season, doing what? Running the football. And they're doing it really well. That's why it's kind of perplexing that the Vegas line is what it is currently. But think about this for a second. Alabama has now lost to the number 12 and the number 13 teams in the current SEC standings. When Alabama has been at least a 14-point favorite this year, Kalen DeBoer has 2 losses in 8 games. Nick Saban had 3 losses in 139 games when he was a 14-point favorite in Tuscaloosa. And by the way, if you had Oklahoma in the money line, it was plus 490 at kickoff.
Happy Thanksgiving.
At least I took the under. That was the one good thing from the game.
Attaboy.
So once again, a lot of questions.
Is that what you were saying to your group is the fourth quarter clock was rolling down?
No, I can't say what I was saying to my group on the radio.
If there's anything, I know we got a 10-hour ride ahead of us, and we just watched Alabama get the brakes beat off of them, but I had the under.
Small victories, right?
But here's the thing about this team and Kalen DeBoer. This is the area where it's going to get really murky for him. So you lose to Vandy for the first time in 40 years. You shot yourself in the foot time and time again in Knoxville. That's a rival loss. You were shocked and ran out of the stadium by a mash unit of a football team, which was Oklahoma. The Sooners gave Alabama its most lopsided regular season defeat in 21 years and the Sooners' first win over an FBS team since September. DeBoer inherited a Heisman Trophy finalist at quarterback. He had multiple potential NFL first-rounders and plenty of 5-star talent on that roster, and you have got 9 wins, maybe, at the end of the season. Maybe, if you can overcome your biggest rival. So once again, the questions about Kalen DeBoer, we're not coming on here saying that he needs to be fired. All we're saying is that there's going to be a lot of hand-wringing, a lot of talk about what he needs to do to get this thing right, because it ain't right. And this might have been the best roster he's going to see in Tuscaloosa for quite some time, based on the number of 5 stars and the number of people that he had coming back, including Jalen Milroe. So that leads us up to Twin Peaks.
Yeah, well, I guess if you were at Twin Peaks to watch the Alabama game, at least you could have a bunch of those 29-degree man-sized drafts, and that probably made your night a little bit better. But going to Twin Peaks and Hoover, they have plenty of screens to catch all the games. You got tons of college football coming up this week. Of course, some big college basketball matchups here in the state as well. So make sure you get in to Twin Peaks and Hoover. Order yourself a nice 29-degree man-sized draft. Maybe try out their new wing sauces or their barbecue brisket flatbreads while you're there as well. And they sponsor our daily poll question here on 3 Man Front, Molly. And I believe our question today has to do with Kalen DeBoer.
Oh, yes, it does. Do you still believe that Kalen DeBoer was the right hire by Greg Byrne? Yes, that's an absurd question. Or no, he's in over his head. And right now winning is yes. That's an absurd question with 68.1, with 31.9 saying no.
Not a lot of people happy this morning in regards to what this Alabama football team has done this year. They've got one regular season game left. I just don't think a lot of people, Landrum, are excited about the prognosis of playing either Illinois or Iowa in a bowl game. Not quite.
No, it doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
No, not at all.
Tomorrow night should be a lot of fun. What is that even? Well, congratulations, Tennessee.
Oh, you're talking about the Alabama basketball game? They're playing Houston tomorrow.
Oh.
I mean,
we've seen that Houston team. That'll be a good matchup.
I mean, you're sitting there, and if you're a Tennessee fan over the weekend, you have yourself a weekend. I mean, you start out by, doing what you should have done, which was score as many points as possible and shutting out a horrible UTEP team. That's what good teams do against inferior opposition. You take care of business and take it to the house early. Then they were able to sit back and watch Lane Kiffin throw up on himself in the swamp, which were like, okay, we're feeling pretty good about this. Could we have a potential trifecta on Saturday? Could we see Alabama go and lay a big old goose egg? You remember when Tennessee went to Oklahoma? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Remember what Tennessee was able to do inside that stadium? And then Alabama goes and doesn't even get off the bus.
Tennessee was able to manage more than 3 points, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, there you go.
What if you're a Georgia fan over the weekend? Are you sitting there going, yep, this is exactly how we drew it up?
Well, and then if you're Georgia, you know what a Georgia fan's probably doing right now? Georgia fans like going, okay, we cannot lose the SEC championship game because now that loss to Alabama looks really, really bad. Because Alabama keeps taking really, really bad losses. So now that is not setting Georgia up for a very good finish from a strength of schedule standpoint.
I think that Georgia, even the outcome of that game, I still see them getting in to the college football playoff. Even if they get bumped down a couple of spots, they're going to have room after tomorrow night. But if you're a Georgia fan right now, do you want to play that extra game? And it has nothing to do with, or if you're not a Georgia fan, Georgia fans want to play. If you're Kirby Smart, as far as your football team and playing the grind of a schedule that you already have, and then potentially you're going to have a rematch there in Atlanta on a neutral field against a quality opponent. I don't know. It's an interesting new day in college football for sure.
Very much so. We're here for it. Bottom of the hour, we'll talk to Nick Kelly to try to give us a little bit of the lay of the land in Tuscaloosa and what we should expect Kalen DeBoer to say coming up at noon. This is Three Man Front on Reaction Monday, Iron Bowl week on Jocks 94.5. Nick Kelly from AL.com covers the Alabama Crimson Tide. He is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. We've got Hugh Freeze coming up at the top of the hour. Kalen DeBoer at 12 noon. We'll carry that press conference live as we do each and every Monday. Brought to you by Evolve IT.
Well, if you run an Alabama fan message board when it comes to your technology, don't settle for anything less than a winning team. How about Evolve IT? They're your trusted local IT partner at Evolve IT. They're your MVPs for all things tech like network management, cybersecurity, and keeping your business systems running smoothly. No fumbles, no downtime, just expert support right here in Birmingham. You can find them online at evolvebhm.com. That's evolvebhm.com, or give them a call, 205-749-8970. Evolve IT, your trusted local IT partner.
1-800-239-WJOX. That is the number. If you would like to call in, we will be more than happy to take your response from a very interesting weekend in college football.
Let's go to Terry. He's in Trustful. Terry, welcome in.
Hey, guys. Hope y'all had a good weekend.
Yes, sir. You too.
Just two quick comments, and I'll hang up and listen. One, if you're looking at Milroe, there's something going on, I think, behind closed doors. There's something going on in that locker room. There's no unity right now. Kyle Macy said years ago, if you get a stench in the locker room, it could take a long, long time to get it out. And my second comment is, don't be surprised if we lose Ryan Williams. He's going to transfer to a school that has got a quarterback that can get him the ball. I was going to see what you guys thought. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Terry. I disagree on that second point. I guess anything's possible this day and age. Do you think something's going on with Milroe behind the scenes in the locker room, Pat?
Besides him continuing to make mistake after mistake, no. I mean, he's not a cancer in the locker room or anything. It's just the fact that his inconsistencies have something that has plagued him in his career in Tuscaloosa. And it's, again, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, they decided very early on that this offense was going to be predicated on Jalen Milroe's success running the football, not what Jan Miller can do running the football or Justice Haynes. It was Milroe.
And I was about to say, I'd be more worried about one of those guys potentially leaving than Ryan Williams.
Yeah. But
well, for me, just watching Jalen Milroe and throughout his career, when he gets off to a hot start, he typically plays well for 4 quarters and he shines. He strikes me as a guy who turns one mistake into 15 more.
So, again, coaching baseball for most of my life, what I would try to tell my kids is if you do not field a ground ball properly, do not compound the problem by then hurrying and making a bad throw. Do not turn one error into 2. Meanwhile, Jalen Milroe, what you just talked about, it seems like to me when there's a mistake, then all of a sudden he wants to hit, and people understand this in baseball parlance. You cannot hit a 5-run home run. Okay. So you need to be, and Kalen DeBoer mentioned it during the broadcast. I know you didn't see it, Conrad, but Kalen DeBoer was asked, he said, look, we're okay. We just have to play one play at a time. Like we can't, like all of a sudden try to get back 14 points on one drive. Like you have to take it one at a time. And it seems like Milroe presses too hard when things start going south for him. But I will give Mike Rodak, I know you guys you didn't hear it. Mike Rodak told us on the program on Friday, he says, to me, the first team that is going to score first in this football game, and he meant a touchdown, the first team that scores a touchdown, that is going to dictate a lot of what potentially is going to happen. He goes, I'm not proclaiming that if Oklahoma scores first on a fluke play or something, that means that they're going to win the football game. But he says that is going to probably dictate a lot of what Alabama's mindset is moving forward. And you saw what happened.
Well, and it was very reminiscent. We already brought up the Vanderbilt game, but of that game where you got down early. And I know Oklahoma didn't score a touchdown until the end of the first half. But you can tell that they press. This is not a team that is, contrary to popular belief with how explosive they were early in the year, this is not a team that plays well from behind. This is not a team that can erase a deficit very quickly because they press. And as we've seen with Jalen Milroe, as you brought up, it was the situation I was talking about where instead of just getting 5 or 6 yards on these runs, he's trying to get 20 yards. And as a result, he's getting 1 yard or he's getting -2 yards. And it's just, again, just moving the ball and let it be a snowball effect where you can build momentum offensively, because then you can open up the playbook and do different things. But when you keep pressing and making the same mistakes, it very severely limits what you can do as an offense.
Coaches had a horrible night. The game plan was terrible, both sides of the ball. It was not only Milroe. Again, Milroe touches the ball more than anybody else on the team, so he's going to carry a lot and most of the blame. But C.J. Dupree played a horrible game, terrible game.
Prentice has to pick up that block on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, Dupree was not chipping people. One time when he was pulling on a play, he ran into one of the running backs. He dropped a couple of passes. You had Bernard lose the ball in the lights. I mean, listen, Milroe threw 2 or 3 outstanding footballs, and his receivers did not help him out. Ryan Williams dropped one right between his hands. Bernard lost one in the lights. So, I mean, there was enough blame to go around. It just was not. Jalen Milroe had a horrible night. He needs to learn to run north and south, and you would think that that would get through his head after being a quarterback for as many games as he has. But he's not Lamar Jackson. He is not going to be able to absolutely beat everybody to the edge, and he thought the other night he could. And instead of him, like you said, Conrad, just get 4 or 5, get positive yardage. He decided he was going to try to do everything he could, and then you lose 4 or 5 yards. So get behind the sticks. 1-800-239-WJOX. Let's go back to the phones. And who's next, Landry?
We got Rick. He wants to talk Alabama. Rick, welcome in.
Hey, guys. Love the show as usual. Just want to get y'all's thoughts on, do you think both coordinators are back next season?
No.
Good. Another thing is, y'all kind of hit on it. Milroe, not just Milroe, that team is not come from behind. The coordinators can't make adjustments in game or halftime. It's just, man, at what point as a coach do you sit back and say, we've ran it with Milroe 15 times up the middle, why not give Ty Simpson a chance? I mean, it takes a gutsy coach to do that. I mean, look at what Saban did with Hurts and Tua.
Correct.
I mean, I don't understand, as a head coach, as a offensive coordinator, how you say, let's just keep doing what we're doing. It's eventually got to work. That mindset's got to go.
Yeah, and I'll point out,
show, guys. Hope y'all have a great Thanksgiving.
Appreciate it, Rick. Thank you for the call. The other thing that, listen, let's just be fair here. This comes into play as a head football coach. One, Jalen Milroe has a C on his jersey. He is a team captain. He is a leader of that football team. And granted, you are not having a very good night. If you were to take him out of the game, not due to injury, but because of performance, does that do anything to your locker room moving forward? I'm not saying it would. I'm just saying that might be something that a coach has to consider when you are potentially benching a guy of that talent, and he's also wearing a C on his jersey.
It's a really good point. That's a good question.
Nick Kelly, who covers Alabama, he's going to join us next. Maybe he has an answer to that question and some other questions we have about this Alabama failure to get to the CFP in year 1 of Kalen DeBoer's tenure. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. 10:34, Jocks 94.5. A reminder coming up at the top of the hour, we will hear from Hugh Freeze, his weekly press conference from the Plains of Auburn as they come off a huge upset win over Texas A&M as they get ready for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Kelly from AL.com will join us momentarily.
Well, you got family and friends coming to the house. Maybe you're looking to upgrade and enhance your outdoor living area and landscape. Our friends at Second Generation Masonry, that's the team for beautifying any area. Their expert team crafts durable brick, concrete, and elegant stone creations that elevate any space, from fire pits, landscape steps, garden walls, stone patios, and walkways to custom driveways. These are your guys. Take your outdoor living area to the next level. Check out Second Generation Masonry at secondgenerationmasonry.com. Get the free quote today, and as always, tell them Landrum from Jock sent you.
Joining us now on the Buyers Ride Hotline from AL.com, covers the Alabama Crimson Tide, fresh off his visit to Norman, Oklahoma. He's heading down to Tuscaloosa to cover these press conferences coming up in the next hour. Nick Kelly joins us on three-man front. Well, it goes without saying, some of these road trips that you've been on this year has not turned out very well for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I don't know if it's bad luck or you or Conrad. I don't know what the deal is.
I'll go with the latter. It's probably me and Conrad. That'd be my guess. So, no, it's wild. I mean, frankly, going to LSU, I kind of had this expectation almost that they were going to lose just because Alabama hadn't done so well on the road other than the Wisconsin trip. And then LSU, of course, that went really well for Alabama. But this is kind of back to what it was in October with the road trips to Vandy and Tennessee and just shaking your head. But, I mean, this was to a whole new level, though, guys. Like, they didn't just lose. It wasn't a close game. They got beat. I mean, that was not even close. And the fact it wasn't close is, frankly, unacceptable.
Nick, when you look at what Oklahoma was able to do, and they were able to control the clock, they're able to run the ball 81% of the time, and whether it was their quarterback, Jackson Arnold, or a young tailback going off, Alabama really didn't have any answer, it seemed, at times. How much change on that side of the ball from the coaching staff standpoint do you believe that we will see when the season is said and done?
That's a great question. I mean, to be honest, defensively, the first half was brutal, and they couldn't stop that offense, and a Tin Horn reference comes to mind. But then the second half, it actually did get better. I think people maybe overlooked that a little bit. That was I think they allowed 83 yards after halftime, something like that. So it improved. But the damage was done a lot of ways. So, yeah, really, defensively, there were some rough things there, but I think really less so coaching staff. Like, they've got to get some more difference makers up front. And, of course, everyone wants them. So I'm not saying that they'll just have their pick of a bunch of, game changers up front in the portal if they wanted. But you've got to get some guys who really can impact football games. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have Will Anderson, Dallas Turner back, no doubt. But it really is at a point where they need to get guys in the front seven, especially the defensive line, who you're afraid of as an offense. And I don't know if they have enough of those guys outside of John Campbell and Deontay Lawson.
Speaking of Deontay Lawson, has there been any update that you could tell our listeners on with Lawson's health, or we're going to wait till Kalen DeBoer will speak on that maybe at noon?
Yeah, I think we'll get a more conclusive answer from Kalen, but I did see Deontay walking off the field after, or I think right before the field storming, which was wild, by the way, with Oklahoma doing that prematurely. But, yeah, Deontay, he was walking. I didn't see anything on his knee or his leg necessarily. I mean, without putting my doctor hat on too much, maybe we're looking at an ankle sprain or something there. But, yeah, I didn't see a brace or anything on him, no crutches. He was walking, maybe a little bit of a limp. So we'll see what that means, and I'll try not to speculate too much more past that.
Nick Kelly, who covers the Alabama Crimson Tide, a part of AL.com, joining us. All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right Hotline. Moving into this coming up weekend, what do you think the biggest concern is for Kalen DeBoer? Is it getting Alabama right, or is it what Auburn could potentially do in their running game, or do you think it's just a combination of both?
It's probably a combination of both, right? I mean, frankly, though, Alabama just needs to get right first and foremost. Like forget what Auburn's going to bring. Just Alabama's got to get mentally back on track. I mean, there was some bad body language I think we saw from that team, and really, when those 2 interceptions happened early in the first half, or the second half, I should say, I mean, they weren't out of it from a score perspective, but they felt so out of it because they just didn't look like they were going to be able to pull it off, or like they were that locked in at that point. And frankly, I don't blame them. I'd be frustrated too if I just threw back-to-back interceptions. But yeah, Alabama's got to get mentally in the right spot and frankly make sure they have a lot of pride in this game. Now there's still a very, very outside shot Alabama can make the playoff. It's on life support, so there's a little bit to play for. But even if there's not, I think there's a lot to play for in just how this team finishes the season, how this team's remembered. And frankly, for DeBoer's sake, how his first season is remembered and how worried people are. Because if he ends the regular season with back-to-back losses, especially to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, I mean, there's going to be a lot of heat on him going into next season. And so I think that's something to monitor. And obviously they know that. They know they need to win this game. I can guarantee they're as frustrated as fans are, if not more. So, yeah, it's definitely a big game, and they've got to figure out how to go out and win this.
In regards to Jalen Milroe, obviously this offense is predicated on his success running the football. And the 3 losses that they've had, he's collectively gained 28 yards in those 3 losses. We know what, obviously, DJ Durkin's going to do on Saturday. You saw what Oklahoma was committed to doing defensively. What can be done, in your opinion, to try to get this offense jump-started to where it's not predicated? I know it's 1 game left, but if you want to try to win this Iron Bowl game, you got to do something different than what you did in Norman, Oklahoma on Saturday.
Yeah, no doubt. I think overall there were yards left on the field for him running. And so when you do have him run, because, I mean, that's part of this offense. They're not all of a sudden going to become a 50 passes a game or 40 or even 35. I mean, if they have, but like that's not who they're going to become all of a sudden for this game. So Jalen running is part of this offense. So I think it's a matter of, okay, look at the film, look at where he left those yards and try to coach him up to make sure that he doesn't make the same mistakes. Like the running backwards and laterally did not work against that defense. Jalen can outrun a lot of guys, but there are some times where I think if he just cuts it up or goes up the middle, there are opportunities there, and he needs to take those. And so I think it's making sure he sees those and making sure he takes those. I also am a proponent of them handing it more to the running backs. I don't know why they haven't done it as much, but I think they need to give opportunities to Jam and Justice. Not that they're going to take over the game, but usually good things happen when they get the football. So I'm a proponent of still running a good bit, just run smarter.
Nick, the roller coaster that we've seen not only across the board in college football, but especially in the SEC, we had more examples of it this past weekend. Do you think that this is the exception, or moving forward, this is going to be more of the rule in the Southeastern Conference?
I would lean toward the rule. I mean, it's going to be just hard to constantly dominate and have a top 5 roster every year. I mean, it's just going to be tricky. It's becoming more like the NFL, where you are going to have to, when you put your portal strategy together, your recruiting strategy, you have to make sure that you spend smart, that you balance your talent, and there are different ways to approach it. You could be a team that goes and gets a couple of elite players and then maybe a bunch of average guys, or maybe you spread it out more and you have several above average guys, so it's a bit more balanced. So, but the point being, it's going to be really hard to constantly collect all the top talent like an Alabama did for much of Saban's tenure. And so I think that is going to lead to the parity that we're seeing. It is leading to the parity that we're seeing, and we're going to continue to see that.
Talking to Nick Kelly, AL.com. He's heading to Tuscaloosa. He'll be covering all the press conferences coming up, the coordinators. Then we will carry Kalen DeBoer's press conference live at 12 noon here on Three Man Front. Well, it goes without saying there will be a lot of postseason looking at this team and this obviously this football program moving forward, because no one believed that they would be sitting here right now with 3 losses, let alone potentially a 4th loss, and not even in the conversation for the college football playoff. If you could put your one finger on just something on this football team that if it had gone better in one direction, Alabama could be in the SEC championship game, what area would that be?
Ooh, that's tough.
Is there just too many multiple things, multiple problems to put your finger on?
Yeah, there are multiple things. I mean, I think to an extent, offensively is what I would point to, in that there hasn't been a constant, we know that this will happen, or we know that can be counted on. There have been some really good plays made by some really talented players, but I think that outside of Ryan Williams and Jalen in the games where his legs have been electric, Alabama hasn't had just this constant, okay, things are getting off the rails a little bit, let's turn to this and let's make it happen. And that, to me, is, I think, what they've missed and what they've needed. That's what you needed in that Oklahoma game, where they were only down by a touchdown. I mean, as bad as that first half looked and went, I mean, they go and score on one of those two first possessions. It's an entirely different ball game. And we can play the what-if game a bunch, but the point being is that I don't know that offensively that you can count on something. I mean, you can be surprised by it and like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Jalen went off against LSU. But there just hasn't been enough, this is what it is going to be or what we can count on. And part of that might be a mix of the players that fit, Saban's offensive system more, trying to mix that with what DeBoer wants to do offensively with Nick Sheridan. So we might see more cohesion next season after that from okay, this is the system they're running, these are the players that can run it well. But yeah, offensively, I've just been perplexed by kind of the inconsistency from that group.
Do you think at any point on Saturday night, do you think there was any contemplation with the offensive staff or Kalen DeBoer to put in Ty Simpson?
I mean, I was asking that myself. Just, hey, if it's clearly not Jalen's night, you put in Ty. I don't know that they would be opposed to it if it made sense, but also the way DeBoer talked post game, he seemed to think that Jalen still was really getting after it and gave them the best chance to win. So I can't say for sure whether or not they seriously considered it. I mean, I'm sure you think about it, but obviously they decided to ride with Jalen and just they thought he was the best option.
And this is a highly speculative question, but heck, you know what we do here on Sports Talk Radio, and you can take it as far or say, no, thank you, Pat, I'm not going to touch that. But there's a lot of things nowadays with the transfer portal, kids opting out, things of that nature. Got a bowl game coming up for Alabama. Whether you win the Iron Bowl or not, do you anticipate, not asking for names, just, whether this is going to be a large opt-out postseason for Alabama, or do you think the majority of folks will want to stay with their brethren and play at least one more game with them?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, trying to figure out the sweeping yes or no, it's probably not that simple. I mean, I think it'll be like we can look back to 22 where, and even last year before the playoff, guys started entering the portal. So you're going to see some of that. Even if they were in the playoff, you'd probably see some of that. And so it's a question of, as far as the guys on the roster who aren't entering the portal, I could see some opt-outs. It's definitely possible. I mean, Tyler Booker, he said that he's going to play or keep playing. He wasn't actually going to bowl game, but he basically was the energy of the question, the spirit of the question was, are you going to keep playing kind of thing? And he seemed like that he was going to. And so maybe you guys follow that lead, because similar to 2 years ago when Will Anderson and Bryce Young said they're playing, they're not going to opt out. I think other guys were like, well, I don't know if we can either. So I think it comes down to leadership too, where if Tyler Booker, Jalen Milroe, Malachi Moore, Deontay Lawson, those types say, hey, we're playing. If you're the long snapper, not to call out Neil and Hibbett, but if you're the long snapper, you probably like, well, I probably should play then. But each guy's got to make a decision that makes sense for himself. So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe just a couple. I also wouldn't be surprised to see a lot. So to be honest, I just don't know, Pat. And I think there could be a domino effect. So once certain guys make decisions, that can affect other guys.
True. Very true. I understand.
To sum all of this up, though, for the people that missed the first part of the interview, Alabama fans should put the blame on you and Conrad Van Order.
Yes, correct? That's the headline of the whole entire interview.
Yeah.
We will bear the weight of this. You're welcome Kalen DeBoer and everyone else. Conrad and I will take this.
Nick, happy Thanksgiving. We always appreciate what you do. Enjoy the game coming up 6 days from right now, but we always appreciate the time. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Happy Iron Bowl week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. That is Nick Kelly. He's a super nice guy, and he's very talented at what he does. Alabama beat writer, AL.com, @Nick Kelly there on Twitter. All of our guests join us in the Buyers Right hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
Well, you see the fluctuation of temperatures, and sometimes that is not good for concrete, and that could be some warning signs around your home. I'm talking about windows or doors that stick, cracks in the brick or the block of your home, the leaning or the bowing walls in your basement. You called APS today for a free estimate because they can come out, they could take a look at your situation, assess the potential problems you have, because you know what? That problem could get worse over time. 205-951-9717. That is the number to APS. Or you can go to the website, alabamaprofessional.com, because those foundation problems don't get better with time. They only get better when you call APS today. They also can help you out with potential of mold and moisture, wet basements. It can lead to other problems in your basement of your home. So you need to call APS today, 205-951-9717. Website, alabamaprofessional.com.
As expected, the reaction from Alabama fans following the 24-3 loss to Oklahoma, hotter than the face of the sun. We'll get to those next on Three Man Front.
Always appreciate Nick Kelly joining us here on Three Man Front on this Reaction Monday. Already been a very lively first hour of the program. Coming up in about 6 minutes from now, we'll hear from Hugh Freeze, his weekly press conference, as the Auburn Tigers came away with a very impressive 4 overtime win against Texas A&M. And what's so crazy, Landrum, is because of all the tiebreakers, Texas A&M is still in the mix for the SEC championship game. It's crazy. You know, you lose a game this late in conference play like they did at Auburn, but they're still got everything in front of them. If they knock off Texas at home, they're playing Georgia for the SEC title.
And I don't know if it's avoidable, and the SEC took forever to come up with their tiebreakers, but potentially do we see some tweaks just because of this year and what we're already getting?
I don't know.
I don't know if there's a way around it, though, really.
People in downtown Birmingham, they're probably very happy because people like us.
It's intrigue.
But I'm going to give you a stat here that is absolutely going to blow your mind.
Hey, come up with that. Okay, go ahead.
If Auburn beats Alabama, would you like to take a guess? I worked out all the tiebreakers. If Auburn beats Alabama on Saturday, where do you think Alabama will officially finish the regular season in the Southeastern Conference standings? And I know you don't have it in front of you. This is just off the top of your head.
10th.
That's what Conrad guessed earlier. That's an outstanding guess. 9th.
Wow.
Come on, give him some credit, Landrum.
So a preseason top 5 team that was voted by the media, right, to potentially play in Atlanta, with a loss to Auburn, would finish in 9th place in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, not putting that on a T-shirt. If you're Alabama, somebody else might.
I think you gave somebody some ideas there.
Dalton, welcome in. You got about a minute.
Hey, so I was wanting to check on or kind of talk about how some people were comparing Kalen DeBoer's his first year to Saban's first year.
Not even close.
And a lot of it, yeah. And the thing is that I understand that Kalen has a lot more talent than Saban did, but I don't know if you ever read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. It has a lot to do with having the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if he doesn't have the right people with his system and his mind frame that he has, I feel like it doesn't matter how many talent stars you have. It's all about who is buying into the system. And also, I think I read an article earlier that he doesn't even have his offense fully installed yet.
I mean, that sounds about right. I mean, everything you said, Dalton, is I think right on. I mean, he's literally playing with a team that he did not recruit outside the guys that he brought from Washington. So,
Hugh Freeze, he feels just fine on this Monday. His press conference live from Auburn is next.
It is 11 o'clock here on Three Man Front Reaction Monday, 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line. We will get to those text messages, I promise. 205-834-9450. It was a rough weekend for the SEC because all of a sudden you had a situation last week going into the college football playoff rankings. You knew that Alabama and Ole Miss would be right up there, Tennessee on the cusp. Well, now you can eliminate Alabama and Ole Miss from the CFP conversation. Tennessee squarely back into the middle of that conversation. Now, if you're a Texas A&M fan, you need to win against the Longhorns in the rivalry game and then find yourself going to the SEC championship game with at least a puncher's chance of getting yourself in the CFP with a win over Georgia.
We're awaiting Hugh Freeze live in Auburn, but before we do that, let's go to Philip. He wants to comment, react to what he saw in Norman on Saturday. Hey, Philip.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
We're doing well. Hope you are.
Do you think it might be a good idea to give DeBoer Mike Shula's and Bill Curry's numbers so maybe you'll know how important this game is?
Well, I promise you, if he loses on Saturday, if he did not think it was a big game, just lose it on Saturday, and he's going to learn real quick.
You got that right.
Thank you, Philip. We'll get to more of your calls later in the show. Once again, Hugh Freeze, his press conference from Auburn. We've talked a lot about the Alabama loss because that impacts so many other things, not just with Alabama, but around the college football landscape. Obviously, it affects the SEC championship game. But what was the most impressive thing that you saw from Auburn on Saturday night versus Texas A&M?
Well, once again, I mean, it's just the fact that they have embraced the running attack, and you had the one mistake by Peyton Thorne, but Peyton Thorne is a hot quarterback. I mean, the last few weeks. I mean, he's played very well, and I think he proposes a lot of issues for Alabama defensively. If you look at the quarterbacks that's had success this year against Alabama, I think what Peyton Thorne has been doing really well over the course of the last few weeks, started with the Kentucky game, I think you're going to see them being able to attack Alabama and have success. I mean, that's, to me, and Jarquez Hunter continues. I know he's number 2 in the SEC, but, man, he's got it rolling right now.
Yeah, he really does. Live to Auburn, Hugh Freeze at the podium.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. First and foremost, wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving week with you and your families, and hope you have time to really reflect on the blessings we all have in life, and we'll get to do that together as a team with our families. And so one of my favorite things to do, truthfully, is the Thanksgiving meal with our team and our families here. So hope you get to enjoy that also. Secondly, our thoughts and prayers are with the Nix family, losing an incredible Auburn man and quarterback in 57. And I think he was probably the Pat Sullivan of that day and who every young Auburn man wanted to be. And I know that they will celebrate his life, I believe, tomorrow, and certainly wish I could be there. Got Iron Bowl week, and it's kind of difficult, but that's just know that our thoughts and prayers are with them as they celebrated a magnificent man who impacted many in this Auburn family for sure. What a win Saturday night. Congratulations. I think Jarquez and Cam are getting some national awards and very deserving of that. And glad to see our seniors get to celebrate their last game in Jordan-Hare the way they did, and they had to fight for it. And you know, my grandfather used to say, "There's no mountains being climbed on the smooth side," and we've had to climb some rocky trail, and it's fun to see them keep fighting, truthfully. And I know a lot of people in life give up, and this team hasn't, and they continue to fight, and they had to fight, scratch and claw, and to find a way to win a football game against a very, very good football team in Texas A&M, and just couldn't be prouder for those seniors that they get to go out that way. Happy for our fans to get to enjoy that type of environment. Saturday night in Jordan-Hare is always special, and that will be one that goes down in many, many people's memory, including mine. as one of the special times in coaching. So it was a solid effort. I mean, obviously, we struggled to get off the field on third down. Some of that was us. Some of that was give credit to them. The quarterback played outstanding and kept plays alive, made great throws, and we messed up some things too, but some of it was them. And offensively, when we were able to win first down, we were really good. And sometimes we didn't, and it was them. And sometimes we didn't. I could say we didn't execute real well or didn't have a great call, but I thought the effort from our kids was fantastic. Obviously, the start was great, and we're going to need another effort like that this week in the Iron Bowl against another really, really good football team who has a remarkable quarterback and who makes a difference when you play them. So looking forward to it, though, and excited about another opportunity for these kids to prove they're getting better.
Hey, Hugh, speaking of Milroe there, the good's been really good and the bad's been really bad for them. How do you game plan around a guy that's kind of been feast or famine this year for Alabama?
Oh, you look at the good. That's what he's capable of. I hope we get the lesser than version, but, in a game like this, I would think, I don't know him personally, but everything you see, he's made of the right stuff, and he competes at a high level in some of the biggest games, and I would think he'd be determined to bounce back. And so I think we've got a plan to get his best. And, yeah, I feel confident they'll use him as a runner. That's when they've been the most dangerous, and we've got to have a plan for that.
Hugh, on the first touchdown in the overtime, did you consider going for two? And what was the thought process in the kicking the extra point?
Yeah, truthfully, it was on the road. Probably would have done that. In all transparency, my mind was so cluttered at that moment, I didn't want to make a bad decision. I had to put so much into getting to that point, if that makes sense. The no timeouts, the drive, we've used quite a few things, and I had no timeouts, and you're going to have a 25-second play clock coming right at you that you're going to have to. And then if you don't like it, you don't have a timeout, and it just felt rushed to me. And I usually, when you make decisions in a manner where you feel rushed, they tend not to work out. And so really it was man, I was so consumed with just getting to that point that I wasn't prepared in my mind, right or wrong. Maybe that makes me less than or something, I don't know, but I just wasn't going to feel rushed to make a call at that point.
Yeah, I want to talk about the catch that Dre made there late in the game. I think it was the last overtime. I'm not sure I've seen a catch that good. We've been covering Auburn, Jason and I, for almost 30 years. What was your thought about that catch in real time, and maybe what you've thought about it after?
It's a play that we have worked every single Thursday against our defense in situational. We always do last play scenarios from different yard lines, and that's a play we've worked from inside the five a lot. And believe it or not, he's probably made a catch like that against them 8 to 10 times. And so I wasn't surprised, but it was a really, really nice throw too. He had to be high, and it had to be where it was. We had some answers if it was a different coverage too, that was the first option. And then the back line's the last option, and he's got to win. And it was a heck of a throw and a heck of a catch for sure. I thought you were going to talk about the mesh route he caught that he got down to the 2-yard line where we should have had a chance to score a touchdown. That was
Coach, heading into this week, what is your message to your secondary when you're trying to prepare for receivers like Ryan Williams, and what have you seen from Ryan Williams this year?
Well, we've played some really good receivers here as of late. I thought A&M's were very talented also, and certainly Alabama's are. They've got 3 guys that I think are all really, really legit SEC receivers. And, of course, Ryan is a kid we recruited really hard and know how talented he is also. I mean, the message is the same. We've got to do our assignment on every play and forget the last one. Have a short memory when you're a DB. It's just you can't hold on to it. You've got to play the next one. And you're on an island a lot of the times back there. And with an athletic quarterback and athletic receivers, they're going to make some plays, and just got to hope we can make our share also.
Coach, one of the things your offense has excelled at this year is creating explosive plays of 20 yards or more. Auburn hasn't won in Tuscaloosa since 2010. Can you talk about how you continue to generate big plays on the road to give you a chance there in Alabama?
Well, it's film study, and you got to have good designs, and they've got to be called at the right time against the right defense. That's not always the easiest thing. I mean, you can have some that are, have a chance to work against multiple things, but usually the biggest ones need to be called against the right coverages at the right time without pressure maybe, or, and all of those are sometimes a guessing game. But I think we do have, a knack for having good designs for some, and we'll need those to go multiple drives. You're not going to just drive the football 75 yards every time without some explosive plays. So that'll be a big part of winning there in Tuscaloosa on Saturday.
Coach, a lot of great reactions and videos and responses from recruits from what happened this weekend, but the ones that you got to talk to and kind of conversate with after the win, what was their thought process to you? That's
the one thing I miss about not being on the Twitter world and stuff, is I don't get to see all of that, and I really don't know what's going on. But the ones I had conversations with after the game were all incredible, and then continuing into yesterday with some of the official visits. And, I think it certainly helped our cause of showing this is what Auburn can be again, and you can beat top 12 teams or whatever they're ranked. And, that's a team that's playing to go to the SEC championship game. And I think they've noticed all the close losses, but now they get to see not only what the Auburn fan base is like and the support we have and the energy that we have. And I think they see, too, probably the best testimony is just the locker room. Look at our kids, and that they continue to fight and they continue to stay together and continue to care. And that's a culture that I think some of these 25 class guys kind of are drawn to. And I'm not saying we're the only ones that have that, but that's another thing for sure that I think they're noticing.
This would be your second Iron Bowl now. I guess, having been through that game, what do you think the Iron Bowl means to a coach's legacy at Auburn?
Oh, there's no bigger game on the schedule to sit in this seat, and to lose one like we did last year still doesn't set right. And I know that the Auburn faithful have had to endure that, and we want to change that feeling in this building and for our great fan base in this state. And it's a tall task. Their roster is deeper, but it was deeper last year too, and we had a shot to win it. So got to find a way to keep ourselves in it and give us a chance to win, and try to change that, and hopefully start making that a regular expectation.
You've had to play freshmen really all year, but especially the last 6 or 7 games, they've been heavily involved. How much have you seen that group grow up, both on offense and defense?
Enormous. I see it every week. I mean, the improvement that Malik Blocks and Amaris Williams, Riddick, Jay Crawford, Kinley Falston. I mean, they're getting better and better each week. And offensively, I think, our receivers were talented and good, but they're starting to learn how to play the game. better and understand some coverages and depths of routes. And, so it's certainly, I've seen the growth, and they are getting better, and hopefully we'll continue to improve this week.
Yeah, adding on to Jacob's question, how big was it to get that win with signing day moved up this year, and how does that kind of change your guys' approach, knowing that don't have in-home visits, don't have those things going into kind of the middle of December?
Yeah, it's interesting. You start to, I'm for this. Being able to stay with your team as soon as the season's over in December, and honestly to kind of take a breather a bit at night and be with your family, and not be on the road every single day and doing visits is something I welcome. Obviously, with new things, there's always some things you don't like. I mean, you find out real quick that it's kind of advantageous to have a home game the last weekend, and every other year we're going to be on the short end of that, and where kids are going to be on other people's campuses that last weekend before signing day and not on ours. So that's a little negative, and you just got to hope you can hold on through the last storm that comes. But I'm excited about it, truthfully, to be able to kind of be around our team, and you got to continue to recruit them too, and kind of not be all over the place in the month of December.
Coach, I think you said it after the game that this team just believes it can win, especially at this point in the season. Going into this one, what is that belief that you can get one in Tuscaloosa, and how different does this feel from the last Iron Bowl going into this one now?
You have zero chance of winning if you don't have a belief that you can do it. And I think somewhere along the line in these difficult losses, we've started believing more, and hope has become a real thing, that you can go on the field and beat good football teams. You've played close games with them, but you can win them, and it's going to take an amount of that belief going into Tuscaloosa to win. It's not an easy place to play. No road. Just look at the SEC every week. You play on the road, it's hard enough to win at home, but you go on the road, it's really difficult, and so that's a tall task that we have to have, but it better start with us believing that we can go in there and win.
The first Iron Bowl in a while that Nick Saban won't be on the other sideline for Alabama. When you study them, do you still see his fingerprints on this roster, or is this team kind of devoid of what Nick Saban was all about?
I have on my list to call him and make sure he's out of town, and not in town this week. First, I have great respect for Kalen DeBoer, and we go way back to NAIA days, and he's had success everywhere he's been. And then Kane Womack, obviously my ties with his family. His father was my DC for years, and I gave Kane his first job at Ole Miss, and to watch him, he's got a wonderful family, and so I've got great respect for those guys also, and they've got one of my former guys as the defensive analyst there, and he knows all our stuff, and so we got to combat that again this week. But so I have great respect for Kalen and Kane and that staff there. Obviously, Nick was he's a friend of mine, but also I love competing against him because he's arguably the best that's done it. And I know a lot of people say, well, he always had good rosters. Well, that's part of being a good coach, is you go get good rosters, and he was always very good at that. And it's different for sure. The scheme is a little different. It's not the same as what you would see under a Nick defense. I mean, there's some similarities. There's always going to be some, but it's not the same, to answer your question.
Coach, last offseason, you made the decision to go to the portal to get a QB. You're kind of at the end of the road here with Peyton. And seeing him after the game, he looked relieved and to get the win and get this big one. You got one more left together. What were your conversations with him been like about kind of coming to the end of this journey together and what he can leave as his legacy?
It's funny you ask that. Most of our conversations now are, there'll be some ball talk, obviously, in the meetings and stuff, but most of it's been about just the mental toughness that he and I have kind of endured together to get through a lot of things that he could have gone a lot of different directions, and credit to him and his makeup and his determination and mental toughness to not let other people define him, and to continue to go to work and get better and improve and help others around him improve. And so most of our talks have just been about that, and it was some relief for he and I both to see him. I mean, he's really played well in a lot of games since the Cal game, and he just hadn't gotten the results for one reason or the other. But his play's been pretty consistent. I don't keep up with the stats. I don't know where he's at in the SEC passing and efficiency, but it's got to be up there, I would think. And so I'm happy for him because he's endured. And isn't that just I know y'all get tired of hearing me talk about life, but that's really what I believe in. I believe that we are, I know I'll get judged by wins and losses and what the scoreboard says, and I get that. I signed up for it. But at the end of the day, man, 15 years from now, these young men will remember probably more about what I said about what we're learning, what we're going through, good, bad, or indifferent, and how I modeled that in relationship with them, maybe more than the wins and losses. And so proud to see Peyton endure well and finish well.
That is Hugh Freeze at the microphone. At the top of the hour, we will head down to Tuscaloosa and hear from Kalen DeBoer. This is Iron Bowl Week. Well, while Hugh Freeze was speaking to the media, we do have some breaking news, Landrum, coming in from the Auburn football team. And for the very latest, let's send it over to the news desk. And Molly Robinson coming off the Nebraska Cornhuskers now being bowl eligible.
That's right. But this isn't about Nebraska. This is a Fong bomb.
A Fong bomb.
We have coming out of On3.
Okay.
They have logged an expert prediction for Auburn to flip Ohio State's 5-star plus, not just a 5-star.
5-star plus.
5-star plus cornerback commit, Naeem Offord. So he might be an Auburn Tiger.
He was at the game on Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken. So that's huge. That would be big. Maybe some more flippage going on for the Auburn Tigers before it's all said and done. So that is a big one. 5-star plus cornerback has flipped from Ohio State to Auburn. We will talk a little bit more about what you heard Hugh Freeze had to say. This is Reaction Monday on 3-Man Front. 1126 Jocks 94.5. You know, 18 South is a premium men's and women's store for guys and gals that look for a modern look without sacrificing comfort. Popular brands like Grayson, Mizzen and Maine, Roan, and Linksole wear the same gear that the Jocks crew wears: quarter zips, polos, pants, and more. 18 South has a look for everyone, for every occasion. Look great whether it's at the office, gym, or golf course. Premium modern style at 18 South. Visit 18 South's new location at the Edge Shopping Center, 819 Green Springs Highway, Suite 105 in Homewood, or visit their online, spell out 18-south.com. That's 18-south.com.
Love their new Homewood store. It's a beautiful store.
Beautiful store there at the Edge.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make sure you get in there, whether you're in Trussville or in Homewood. Reaction Monday, it continues, 205-834-9450. That's the text line. We will get to your text. We got a lot of them. But also the phone lines are open, 800-239-WJOX. Let's go to Michael, who does want to talk Auburn. Michael, welcome in.
Hey, Andrew. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, I think that's the big win that Auburn's been needing. So I'm pretty fired up about it. I think we got a chance in the Iron Bowl.
Yeah. I think that Auburn fans probably more optimistic, if they weren't already, about going on the road and playing that Alabama team. But what is your early prediction in the week, Michael, on the game and how it's going to end up?
I don't know. I'll just have to wait and see. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. Auburn will get the offense cranked up. They can run the ball with Jacques Hunter and stuff like that. They can control the clock and keep Milroe and Ryan Williams off the field.
Yep. Well, Michael, have a happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate you listening in, and you're always welcome to call the show, 800-239-WJOX. Let's go to Chris. He wants to talk Alabama. Chris, welcome in.
And a roll is a tide, everybody. And Molly, here, I just want to pat you on the shoulder for your big red. I mean,
how about that?
Yeah. Don't be like that, Pat. But
no, he was being serious.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come off like a smart ass. I just was.
No, you just always bullying her, man. Let her live. She just want to be tolerated. But
just tolerated. That's pretty good.
But let's see about the Bama game. I've constantly said this. I mean, Conrad just got on the phone with me earlier saying I had a standard of at least 9-3. Everybody's expectations were too high, but turns out I was right about I was wrong about Kentucky. You got me there. I hate to admit it, but I didn't think there'd be that so much interest, man. I was like right about Vanderbilt. It's just the case that I think I tweeted at Conrad about it last week. This is a whole new era, whole new team, lowered expectations, and they gotta first establish what they want their standard to be.
Yep. Well,
I mean,
continue.
I mean, it's pretty much just should we can't all just put the blame on Jalen Milroe, because there are numerous amount of factors why you lost that game. I even tweeted at Mac and Cube. Why does everybody thinking they can just waltz right in and just think they can just take over this team and certainly all the makings of a pretty much trap game if you just sleep on your opponent. And lo and behold, they took NyQuil to finish off the night. You got wide receivers missing blocks. You got C.J. Freeze dropped every pass that went his way. Let's see. Offensive lineman missing blocks. Jalen Knight going through his read progressions, and offensive coordinator pretty much just running the same play and not making adjustments, and defense just being manhandled for the run game altogether.
Right. Well, Chris, we appreciate the phone call. 205. Whoa.
Wow, within 5 minutes.
Second time we've done that today. That is a sounder for breaking news. For more, we're going to send it to one Pat Smith, who is standing by. Pat?
ESPN is reporting that Alabama linebacker Deontay Lawson will miss the remainder of the season after suffering a significant leg injury against Oklahoma. He went down with the injury and was ruled out the remainder of the game. So ESPN is reporting that Deontay Lawson, the outstanding linebacker for the University of Alabama, is done for the year. So Kalen DeBoer, he will speak to the media coming up at the top of the hour. Meanwhile, Kane Womack and Nick Sheridan They're meeting with the media as we speak, so I'm not sure if Kane Womack will make that announcement or Kalen DeBoer. But again, ESPN reporting Deontay Lawson is out for the season.
Well, flu season is ramping up, so make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus, is 100 times more effective than standard air filters and 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. So go find a dealer near you at Trane.com.
So Kalen DeBoer, top of the hour. We heard from Hugh Freeze earlier. We'll go back and talk a little bit about what we heard Hugh Freeze have to say about this week's Iron Bowl. This is Reaction Monday here on Jocks 94.5. Alabama's Kane Womack is speaking with the media right now. No official confirmation coming from Kane Womack in regards to the news that ESPN is reporting that Deontay Lawson has been lost for the year with a significant leg injury. So we will keep you updated as we monitor that. Kalen DeBoer will be coming up at the top of the hour. Meanwhile, Las Vegas, they have set the point spread to the Iron Bowl, and it is currently, as of this second, 12 points. Alabama is a 12-point favorite. If you remember last year, Alabama was a 13.5-point favorite. It came down to the very end of the game. And, you know, today is the anniversary, Landrum, of last year's Iron Bowl. This is the way it sounded on the Auburn radio network.
4th and goal from the 31. Milroe to throw out of the shotgun with time. Still with time. He looks. He throws to the back of the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown. Isaiah Bond with the catch.
Andy, what they did was they gave him so much time in the pocket It allowed Isaiah Bond to get to the back of the line against one-on-one against DJ. And all Milroe did was hold the rest of the defense with his eyes and throw the ball to the back line.
That's the way it sounded last year on the Auburn radio network. If you were in the stadium, you could hear a pin drop. This is the way it sounded on the PA announcer.
The pass is complete to number 17, Isaiah Bond, for the Alabama touchdown.
Quiet, except for the crimson-clad wearing fans that were sitting in the corner of the end zone. As Alabama, they were a 13.5-point favorite last year against Auburn. Auburn covered. The year before that, Bama was a 22-point favorite. That game was a push. In 2021, Bama was a 20.5-point favorite. Auburn covered. In 2020, Bama was a 24.5-point favorite, and Alabama covered. So if you look at the last 4 Iron Bowls, they have been obviously double digits. This will be the 5th in a row that Alabama has been favored by double digits over Auburn, but Auburn has covered 2 of the last 4.
Speaking of that, a little teaser for Better to Forget It, the Iron Bowl edition we're going to do later in the week. This will be the 8th time that these two teams have faced off on November 30th.
Interesting.
And it's an interesting trend.
Alabama is 12-4 straight up since 2007 against Auburn. Auburn has not beaten Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium since a very famous comeback in 2010. Bama is 7-7 against the spread with 2 pushes. Alabama has not lost to Tennessee and Auburn in the same season since 2006. This is the 17th consecutive year that Alabama has been favored over Auburn.
Part of that, though, is how many years did they go without beating Tennessee? Or
yes,
with Tennessee without beating them.
Tennessee played a bigger role in that than Auburn did, yes.
But interesting.
Times are changing.
The last time that Alabama was an underdog to Auburn was 2007. Auburn was a 4.5-point favorite. Auburn covered by winning the game 17-10.
The reason I brought it up to Nick Kelly, because I had buddies that I was able to catch up with late yesterday afternoon, and they were kind of giving me their reaction after they had digested. And it was Auburn fans, it was Alabama fans too. And I tried to tell them what I believe in talking with coaches and just seeing as an example of what we've seen so far this season and the topsy-turvy nature of outcomes with whether it's a highly ranked team and an unranked team. Not that we haven't gotten that before, but now it seems like it's more of the norm. And it goes back to parity. It goes back to not being deep at every single position. And I think it's going to continue. So maybe we have to adjust the way that we judge certain teams, certain coaches. I'm not saying that for Kalen DeBoer's benefit. For them to put up 3 points, that was not good, and there's no excuse for that.
0. No.
But just looking across the board, when we look at the body of work, I think it's something that we're going to ourselves have to adjust to in how we grade some of these coaches and evaluate moving forward if we think that that's the right person leading that program.
Well, one thing's for sure, Alabama's stuck with him unless you got $69 million in your back pocket ready to pay him off. You owe him 90% of what's left on his contract. You owe him $77 million after this year concludes. So you owe him $69.3 million if you decide, whoops, this was a mistake. Ain't going to happen. Just like Brian Kelly's owed $60 million. You're stuck with these guys. Unless you can find a reason to fire them with cause. If not, then, pull a Tennessee with Jeremy Pruitt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way.
And I would just say from my perspective, I don't doubt that Kalen DeBoer was the right hire going back to the poll question a little bit. I think that he is an excellent coach, and I think that he can still have a lot of success at Alabama. But I think I can say that, and at the same time, it's inexcusable what happened on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that he's a bad coach. It doesn't mean he needs to be fired. It doesn't mean he's on the hot seat right now necessarily. But what happened was inexcusable, and it's on him now to show the fan base that, A, you're able to get this team up on Saturday for a rivalry game when I think a lot of us are expecting these players to be checked out. You're going to learn a lot about Kalen DeBoer there. And then what are you going to do in the offseason? How are you going to address this? Somebody asked about the coordinators. There's been good, there's been bad with both of them, but let's look at Nick Sheridan. You have a first-year offensive coordinator. This is his rookie year as an offensive coordinator. That kind of stuff doesn't fly at Alabama. You know, you have to make adjustments, and somebody, unfortunately, has to take the fall in these kinds of situations.
And knowing, let's just stick with the defense, knowing what Oklahoma, how deficient they were at the skill, passing the football, what they were going to try to do, that should not have come as a surprise to Kane Womack and that team. Now, whether it was lack of execution or lack of preparation, a lot of fans aren't going to see lack of execution when they break down a play, Pat, and they're looking at the all 22 and they're going, well, that guy should have zigged when he zigged when he should have zagged. Nobody's going to say that. So it's going to look like you weren't prepared. But honestly, my assessment was Alabama looked like they were not ready to play a football game.
No, you're 100% accurate. I think everyone that watched that game had the same idea you did. I mean, the bottom line is this, and at the end of the season, they're going to take a look at the totality of the work by these assistant coaches. But from an offensive standpoint, you're sitting now with the 9th or 8th best offense in the SEC and the 9th best defense.
Well, and I think, look, we shared this criticism about Hugh Freeze last year, did we not? You're the offensive coach. You came in here to be the offensive guy. Things aren't going well. Maybe you need to call plays. And I think it's fair to ask Kalen DeBoer, you're an offensive-minded coach. Are you better off if you call your own plays? Because this is your identity. This is your offense, what you ran. I know Ryan Grubb's with the Seahawks now, and that was a big part of what they did in Washington and Fresno State. But you're the offensive guy, right? If it comes to it, you need to be able to step up and call plays because that's what they hired you for.
I mean, because at the end of it's interesting because if you go back and you look from the year 2000, from a defensive point of view for Alabama, I mean, they're going to finish the worst that they've ever finished in the SEC in the last 25 years in total defense. Now, the numbers are a little bit skewed because 25 years ago, Landrum, or actually the last time they finished 8th back in 2003, and they gave up 360 yards per game, okay, back in 2003. Well, right now the defense is yielding about 325, so that's a lot less than the 360 they gave up back in 2003.
Yeah, 360. You
360.
Think about offenses back then.
360 in 2003.
You were really, really bad at something.
In 2003, you were 8th in the SEC. You gave up 360 yards per game. You were 4-9, 2-6 in the SEC, and Joe Kynes was your defensive coordinator.
Whether it was explosive plays over 20 yards, whether it was through the air or on the ground, you were really bad at something. 360 and 20. Wow.
Yeah, 360 yards they gave up.
That's a lot.
And think about this. In 2006, Alabama finished 7th. So one place better in the SEC in total defense. They only gave up 298 yards. So it goes back to what you were talking about. Like something like you were getting just absolutely bombarded by bombs.
Somebody could count on a 75-yard plus play every single game.
There's no doubt about it. But yeah, back in 2006, they were 7th in the SEC, 298. And then after that year, from 2008 through last year, they only had one season where Alabama did not finish 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in total defense. And that was back in 2019, they finished 5th in the SEC. But every year under, under Kirby Smart and obviously Nick Saban, they finished 2nd, 1st, 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 3rd, 1st, 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 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd. They finished 2nd in the SEC in defense last year. There's a lot of Pete Golden defenses that finished pretty well. You're right now trending for 9th in the SEC. And 12th against the run. And 62nd nationally against the run.
More teams, harder schedule.
Is that what it is?
I'm trying. I ever tell you Kane Womack's my cousin?
Oh, must be.
We're related.
Also, Kane Womack, just a moment ago, he said that Deontay Lawson will not be with us this week. I'll let Coach handle that from that point.
Yeah.
So that pretty much confirms
that is it.
The ESPN report in which Deontay Lawson will not be available.
Justin Jefferson, you're up. Next man up.
He was really good at LSU.
Really good on the Vikings.
Let's go to Doug. He's in Moundville. Doug, welcome in.
Hey, guys. I think one of the biggest tells of whether you have a quality coaching staff is the adjustments made in the second half. And I didn't see any adjustments made in the second half in the Oklahoma game. I didn't see any adjustments made in the second half against Vanderbilt. And I would say that our biggest problem is we don't make any adjustments to improve in the second half. We're not a well-coached team, and it makes me really worry if we're going to be sliding into the Shula years, because if you don't win, you're going to lose recruits, and, you know, you've got NIL money, but so does everybody else. So I'm very concerned about this team, and I want to get your guys' take on the quality of our second half adjustments, because I didn't see it. They just continued to run the ball the entire time, and we couldn't stop it.
Doug, thank you for the phone call. To your point, and we talked about adjustments, and sometimes I think that adjustments, they carry too much weight with fans in college football. Just getting a behind-the-scenes look and talking with coaching staffs every single week, maybe we are guilty of that at times. In fact, I know we are. But was it a matter of Alabama just getting beat at the point of attack where and that would not be an adjustment. That would be, this is our defense. This is how we should play that defense to play the read option from Jackson Arnold, but a guy just getting beat on the defensive line, or a guy just getting beat when he goes to plug the hole. Maybe that was the case. As far as on the offensive side, I don't know how many adjustments you make. You're running your offense. Jalen Milroe throws a screen pass, and Kobe Prentice offers nothing at a freshman defensive back from Oklahoma, and he is face-to-face as that ball is getting there.
Yeah.
To me, that's execution, because we have seen that play go for big yardage this season. So it's give and take with that.
Yeah, and Kane Womack, during our commercial break, I was monitoring what he was saying, and he was definitely playing up the fact that Oklahoma only had 83 yards of total offense in the second half.
Yeah.
And I think you heard me kind of smart off
to my
monitor, and
they
I
didn't
said,
need it.
I said, well, it is a 60-minute game, Coach Womack. I mean,
right.
when they were able to put up the numbers they did in the first half, they really didn't need to do a lot.
Alabama
the second half.
or Oklahoma knew, and anybody knew, what was going to be your game plan going in. Taking deep shots and doing things that you don't do well, or was going to be try to get something established on the ground. Alabama's been susceptible against the run and shorten the football game.
Alabama had 40 more yards of offense in the second half as they did the first half, which is putrid.
But Jalen Milroe with a pick six, which I don't defend, and then throwing another interception that set up a touchdown, you did them a favor. Otherwise, it's a really low-scoring game, and we're talking about it late in the fourth quarter.
So Nick Sheridan is talking with the media now, and this was something that obviously got played up on social media. Nick Sheridan was actually asked about Jalen Milroe's tackling effort on the pick six.
Or lack thereof, yeah.
Right.
I thought it was a great move by the guy returning it.
And Nick Sheridan said, we didn't do a good enough job in that moment.
No crap. There are a bunch of other moments that you weren't your best either.
To be fair, the pick six against Vanderbilt, he got criticized, right?
Yeah, because Jordan Rogers went on social media and did a whole breakdown of Jalen Milroe.
Right.
It looked like he really actually tried on that one.
Yeah, not so much on that one. Also, Nick Sheridan said that Jalen Milroe needed to be more north and south when running the ball at Oklahoma.
Oh, look
Where
at there.
did I hear that?
Huh.
Did we talk about that today?
Captain Obvious. Jeepers. All right, more three-man front. Kalen DeBoer at the top of the hour. This is Jocks 94.5. It is a big week. It is Iron Bowl week. We'll hear from Kalen DeBoer coming up at the top of the hour. So whether your family rolls with the Tide or the Yale War Eagle, there's only one place to shop, and that's Bama Fever Tiger Pride. They have a fresh stock of sweatshirts, jackets, quarter zips, and vests, as well as your everyday items like T-shirts, hats, polos, and tailgate gear. So if you're getting ready to go to the game, whether you're at Bryant-Denny Stadium or you're going to be sitting at home and you're going to be rooting for the Tide or for the Auburn Tigers, that's okay. They've got the gear that you want for game day. That's Bama Fever, Tiger Pride. They invite you to shop in either 9 locations across the state, and they want to thank you for over 40 years of service, bringing the best for Alabama and Auburn fans.
We got the text line open, 205-834-9450. Danny from Oxford, Alabama, texts in and says, it's crazy that Alabama in the last 12 months has gone from a football powerhouse to a basketball powerhouse. Roll Tide.
I'm not doing that. I'm not falling for it.
Giving you the opportunity right now.
Not doing we're a basketball school now. We're not doing that.
This one rolling in, 425 is awful at stopping the run. Womack in over his head.
I mean, yeah, clearly based on the statistics that Pat showed, the run defense hasn't been great for Alabama this year. But, I mean, I know what the scheme is, but I don't feel like that was the biggest issue on Saturday. I mean, when you've got 3-4 guys in the box instead of 7 or 8, what do you expect?
They couldn't stop that inside trap. I wish I could do a really good Joe Kynes impersonation, but I can't. But thank you for the text.
You know, what's so crazy is that that Alabama right now is ahead of Auburn in rushing offense in the SEC.
Thanks, LSU game.
Lewis says, fire the OC
right.
and the DC after Saturday. No excuses. It said Alabama put up 9 points, but 6 were taken. That's true.
Yes, that
was
was
a completion.
It was a atrocious call, but it is not the reason that Alabama lost the game.
Chill says Nick Sheridan needs to follow Tommy Rees to that dookie-colored NFL team up north.
Not going well for Cleveland this year. Not going great.
Nick from North Birmingham says Auburn is undefeated against Alabama and Tuscaloosa when Nick Saban was not the head coach. That's a stat that'll make you go, Look at Conrad. He's going,
Is that true?
Well, press conference live from Tuscaloosa. Kalen DeBoer, what will he say? This is presented by Evolve IT, and it's next on 3-Man Front.
It is 12 noon here on Three Man Front. This is Reaction Monday. This is Iron Bowl week. We'll kind of turn the page over the very crazy weekend of college football and look ahead to the Iron Bowl coming up on Saturday with a number of guests tomorrow. We will be here tomorrow. Well, actually, tomorrow at Social Taco. Then Wednesday here in studio. We'll take Thursday off, Thanksgiving with our families. And then on Friday, we will be live. So only day we will not be here doing the show will be Thursday.
Well, if you're headed to the Iron Bowl this weekend, you need to check out the Pants Store because whether you cheer for Alabama or you're going for Auburn, they will have you covered with plenty of clothing, shoes, and accessories. From rompers and sets to boots and clear bag, they will have you covered. They also have a game day outfit for the entire family, plus plenty of layers in case the weather, might be a little chilly this weekend. So shop online at pantstore.com or in store at one of their 6 locations in Alabama.
All right, let's go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Kalen DeBoer, the current head football coach of the University of Alabama, with his weekly press conference.
Yeah, good morning. Recapping Oklahoma. I know the coordinators have done some of that, but just think a lot of it comes down to some, execution in all areas. Offense, defense gets up here and talk, but I think there's all areas where execution can be better. Obviously, the turnover margin and some big plays, some momentum-changing plays there played a role, and I think our inability to create explosives. I always look at that, and we lost that area too in the game, and so there's details as to why all those things happened. We meet with our team, and yesterday I think that's what you can do with this group is you can be very truthful, very, very honest. The relationship's there, the trust's there, our leadership is there, whether it's staff or just our leadership within our team. And so, they want to know the facts. They want to know the details. And, we address those. And, our focus turns to the Iron Bowl now. And, the excitement of that, we got to make sure, we're focused on the next play and only the next play. It's senior day for 19 guys. We have 10 scholarship, 9 walk-ons that we'll get a chance to recognize and celebrate that day with them. Want to send them out with win and a great experience. Appreciate all these guys and everything they've poured into it. We got, with the 10 scholarship, I think 3 special teams, 5 defense, and 2 offensive guys, that are playing their senior year here. So, care a lot about those guys. I know our team does too, and want it to be a special time for them, a special week, getting ready to play the Iron Bowl. And then the last thing, just unfortunate, I know it was kind of addressed here earlier, Deontay Lawson, we'll lose him for the season with season-ending injury. And so just an amazing leader, chosen team captain by the team. I can see not just what he means to us on the field, but, just the love that our players have for him, especially those that have been through multiple years, seeing what he pours into it. I know we all feel for him. So we appreciate, everything he's been doing. And, obviously you greatly miss what he does on the football field, but you love having that guy in the locker room, leading their team. So thinking about him.
Let's start with Chase on the far left. Coach, when you went back and watched video of the game, what did you think of the effort that Jalen gave on the tackle on the pick 6?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to find a way to get him out. He's a good enough athlete to where either using the sideline or forcing a cutback, it's not something you spend a lot of time practicing. That's not a position he's in. He's got to find a way to get him out of bounds. And so I trust Jalen to do a lot of things, and I trust that he can get him down. And so, find a way to get the defense out there, find some way possible, hold him to a field goal. Those are things we want to try to do. But, it's not something you practice a lot, and I blow the whistle dead every time. Obviously, I don't want guys tackling each other in practice, especially the quarterback. So find a way, just that's what I would say.
Go to Charlie here, far right.
Yeah, hey, Coach. It didn't look like Justice Haynes played a ton in the second half. Maybe he was kind of working through some things on the sideline. Do you have an update on him and if he was maybe limited?
Yeah, I mean, he's a lot of guys working through things all season. He's certainly one of them. And so, Justice, trying to use him in the ways we can. Again, everyone's not at full strength, and but he goes through the week of practice, trying to prepare the best he can to go out there and give us everything he's got. So we believe in him for sure.
Back over to the front left, Katie.
You talked about turning the focus to the Iron Bowl. This is a group of players that haven't lost to Auburn in their careers. Just kind of is that motivation enough for these guys with this rivalry game this week?
Yeah, and just already talking about it yesterday and in the team meeting, and you can already feel leadership stepping up and really talk about what this game means to them, what this means to us, what it means to everyone, both sides, the state. 365 days of the year. Ever since I've been here, I think I hear about it every day. And so understand what it means and the excitement, and we have to put and learn from last week and be better because of it, and turn the page and get ready to practice tomorrow and do everything we can to be successful on Saturday, find a way to win.
Let's go to Nick, front right.
Yeah, without Deontay, Justin Jefferson's a guy you guys will turn to. What does he bring, and what does he need to do to make sure that he fills that void?
Yeah, maybe a little different style. Obviously, stature, you look at that right away, but Justin can run. Justin's physical. He's a guy you can count on. He's really trustworthy. He pours everything into it. He has just a team-first mindset, going through spring ball, him kind of trying to figure out his role. I remember talking, at the time, just, he's been ready whenever called upon. He's worked through his things here and there with injuries, but he's, any guy's looking forward to that moment, and I know that along with the disappointment that we always have and how much we love Deontay, we're also excited about the next man up and the opportunity that it creates for him. And so, Justin's a huge fan of our entire team, our coaching staff, we're all fans of him, and want him to go out there and be great, and we're confident in him.
Go to the front middle of the room to Tony.
Just what have you seen from the lack of consistency, and then what do you do to kind of maybe what traits do you need to kind of build that up and to maybe be able to sustain some of the
as a team?
Yeah, just in several areas.
Yeah, really it's disappointing because I feel like we've done a good job of building up over the last month. Really, the consistency in all areas really starts with winning the turnover margin. That's been ways where we've, really gotten momentum. We've started fast because of it. We've held team to field goals. We gave up really the one touchdown, and we forced them to field goals. So some of those things still were in play. We didn't have that momentum that you need. We went into an environment and we let the environment be what it was because we didn't grab a hold of it like we did at LSU, and kind of took over the place. And so we let them hang around through the first half, and then obviously they got the score at the very end. And then a couple plays, right? The takeaways that they had, or the turnovers on our part, really spinning the game there. And what your focus is at that time when you're in the middle of the third quarter. I spoke to coaching staff and them passing it on to the team is just try to find a way to get one more score here at the end of the third quarter. Try to make it a 2-score game, and if you get 10, and can cut into it even more, that's what your goal is, and give yourself a chance to where you're competing, keep applying pressure, keep pouring it on the best you can. It wasn't like I felt like we needed to make more adjustments. We just made a couple mistakes there, and that swung the game. We knew they had a good defense going in. We knew that they had that ability to make those type of plays. Unfortunately, we turned it over, and those two in particular, the third one, at the end of the game. But we had a chance to cut into that lead, and we didn't. That led to fourth quarter where you're just kind of trying to find any way to get explosive plays, a lot of passes, not pretty much one-dimensional now at that point offensively in particular.
Go to the far left, Colin.
Hey, Kalen, did you reach out to the SEC about the illegal touching call made against Ryan Williams, and if so, what did you hear?
Yeah, I mean, there's been communication, and there's nothing you can really do now, right? The game's over and stuff, so you just got to be comfortable with the communication that you have, and that's been the case with the SEC, and you just move on. We're focused on the Iron Bowl.
Alex on the right.
You've obviously got to finish out the regular season this week, but you got signing day the week after that. Transfer portal opens up the week after that. I'm curious how much time is spent on roster management right now, and are conversations with the current roster and the retention piece of it already happening?
Yeah, I think that's one thing with our staff that just, the relationships that exist, I think there's little conversations that happen periodically, and they might happen different times with different guys, because they feel open to talk to our staff. And yes, there's different levels of conversations. Some of them are initiated not just by us, but by the players, and they're just talking through and getting our input. And that's not the focus right now. The focus is on the Iron Bowl. The focus is on the regular season. But I think just in the sidebar conversations, them looking to our staff as mentors, and they have their families, they have the people that they go to away from the building as well. But just really working through it with them, and I'm comfortable with where we're at. The roster management piece is a huge deal. The signing class in particular, and then obviously you're always. It isn't just an end of the season thing anymore. It's a constant year-round management of the roster, and kind of having a beat on what you think and feel might happen, and what you got to be ready for when that time comes.
Go to Matt on the far right.
You mentioned hearing about the Iron Bowl. What have you heard about just the game and how important it is for just the legacy of Alabama coaches?
Yeah, sure. It's going to be an awesome environment. We know that. Love playing the game at home, right? We get a chance to be undefeated. That's a sidebar. No, but be undefeated at home, it's a big deal. It's always been a big deal to me, and that's where we're at as a team. But this game, what it means to those that come from each side, and what it means to the state. It's talked about, and not just told to me, but talked about amongst everyone, and in their homes. And it's Thanksgiving weekend, so if you're not at the game, you're watching it with your friends and family. So I've heard stories of families being divided because of it, and in many different ways. So that's what rivalry games are all about, and I know this is a rivalry that's on another level.
Coach, I'm going to touch up on that question. Just when you got here, was there a story that you heard? You're like, whoa, you've been through rivalry games before, but this one's a little different. Was there a story that you heard that you could tell us, or something about the Iron Bowl?
Not that there's a particular story or something that's just, off the wall. I know those all exist, but I understand, what took place a year ago, and what it took to win that game. And, that's, I think, probably pretty reminiscent of what, both sides are looking at as far as the effort it's going to take, and playing for 4 quarters, playing every second, every play like it's your last. So that's the intensity of it.
Let's go to EG. Sorry.
Coach, when you look at the game plan going into OU compared to the in-game adjustments made, how do you feel like those complemented each other?
I think the very end of the game, I think, was different just because of the nature of what the score was. But I felt like offensively, a lot of it was sticking to the plan, because I think our plan was good. We just, we didn't get a chance to get into the offense enough to be able to create the explosives, the things that come off of plays that you're not setting up, because we'll go to the explosive opportunities whenever they're there, but it did develop. There wasn't a rhythm, and I think it's always hard to you got to find those plays that can get into a rhythm. That's your base offense, and so a lot of times that is execution, and that's on everyone. That's not just on one particular group. But defensively, I think there's always adjusting, especially when a team has elements that are presented in a way that maybe are a little bit different. They still have the DNA of who they are. We knew that their quarterback would still be involved in the run game to some capacity. We knew a little bit of the formations, but there's going to be adjustments, because every week an offense, shows new pictures, and they're adjusting to their personnel. So there's probably a few more adjustments in the game plan as it goes on. But those are usually part of the game plan itself. You're just going to plan B, plan C. And that's, to me, what adjustments are. You know what the possibilities are each and every week from the film that you watch. And, it's just a matter of going to the next level and next set of plays that either attack offensively or, adjust to what you've been seeing defensively, and you call more of this rather than that. So I think, it evolved, but I think it's different for each side of the ball.
Yes, Coach, I know a loss is a loss, but I wonder if you differentiate a game that you think maybe you lost as opposed to a game where the other side won, and if the reaction and going forward is different from that.
We lost. We lost, and I don't know which ones I've ever felt worse about. Maybe people have strong opinions. I mean, when you lose, you lose, and it's just sickening. Every time it happens. I mean, that feeling in your gut, right, is there, and doesn't matter how. I know you can probably look at it different ways. I mean, a last-second throw and you lose on the last play of game versus losing when you're down by multiple scores. It's still a loss, and so to us, we fell short. We didn't play at the level we're capable of, and that's what we look at. That's what we go back to. That's what we actually have to. The flush is the feeling, because we have to understand that we're capable, that we have had a lot of consistency for a month, and that wasn't in on Saturday.
Let's go back to the room to Jamie.
Hey, Coach, Alabama has Ryan Williams. Auburn has Cam Coleman. How difficult of a cover is he for a DB?
Yeah, and they have multiple threats that I would consider very difficult, but certainly, high-profile guys that have really produced, for both teams as young athletes here at the college level. So he's extremely impressive. He's made a lot of plays for him this year, you gotta not just focus on him. You got to focus on the other guys that have had big games, and it's not just in the pass game, but it's also in the run game. Their quarterback now, Thorne, has done a nice job adding to that too with his legs. So a lot of threats, and that's what you want to be. You want to be an offense that has a lot of threats, and they have that.
All right, thank you, Coach.
You bet. Roll Tide.
That is Coach Kalen DeBoer. You just heard him confirm that Deontay Lawson has been lost for the season. Talked about the missed opportunities, the lack of execution of both the coaching staff and the players in that debacle there in Norman, Oklahoma. Understands the importance of the Iron Bowl coming up on Saturday.
Well, both Hugh Freeze and Kalen DeBoer, their live press conferences here on 3-Man Front and Jocks 95.45 every single Monday have been brought to you by our friends at Evolve IT. They're your local IT partner. For more, go to evolvebhm.com. That's evolvebhm.com for Evolve IT.
1-800-239-WJOX. That is the phone number. Bill Clark will join us at once. We got plenty of time for calls. Your text messages on the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. Welcome back. It's Reaction Monday here on Jocks 94.5. Pat, Molly, Landrum, Conrad with you until 2 o'clock. The Paul Feinbaum Show will join us at that point in time. The Iron Bowl will be on Jocks. Airtime is 11:30 coming up on Saturday. Texas and Texas A&M joined in progress after the Iron Bowl concludes. UAB will shift over to 100.5 FM. So again, the Iron Bowl can be heard right here on Jocks 94.5 beginning at 11:30.
Well, our friends at Mandu in downtown Homewood want to continue to remind you in recognition of and celebration of Donald Trump's historic comeback and in an effort to help kickstart Trump's economic recovery. Mandu is offering 50% off the first month of Mandu for new clients who sign up for Mandu in the months of November and December. To get this discount, just state Trump 2024 when you schedule or go in for your free trial session. You can follow them on social media at Mandu Homewood on both Facebook and also on Instagram. Mandu in downtown Homewood. Tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from 3-Man Front sent you.
So in the 11 o'clock hour, we heard from Hugh Freeze, a couple of notes from his press conference. He says a lot of people in life give up. This team hasn't. He also was asked, did he consider going for 2 in the first overtime? Freeze says, on the road, probably would have done that. I didn't want to make a bad decision. He was asked about Alabama's outstanding freshman wide receiver, Ryan Williams. Freeze says, we recruited him really, really hard. We know how talented he is. Freeze on Alabama, he says, the roster is deeper. The roster was deeper last year, and we had a shot to win it. Also, he was asked about the ups and downs of Jalen Milroe. Hugh Freeze says they have a plan for the Milroe who's very good. Quoting now, I hope we get the lesser than that version, end of quote.
That's a good answer. I think Auburn fans certainly hope you don't get Jalen Milroe at his best. Maybe he's got a foot out the door.
Are you surprised that the point spread is 12 points?
Are you implying like maybe you thought it would be lower?
Yeah.
Given what we saw. Yeah, Vegas, though typically they're not super reactionary to that kind of stuff. And maybe they think it was just a one-off or a lack of execution.
But it's
Alabama
happened 3 times for Alabama.
With their power ratings. I'm just saying, I don't know.
I think you know where I'm leaning.
I know where you're leaning. I can tell.
I thought it might be like 7.5, to be completely honest with you.
I mean, I thought it was going to be a little bit more than a touchdown, but still double digits.
The initial number that came out after Saturday night, I thought 9. And the opening line was 15 last week that we got.
It was 15.5.
15.5. So they've already moved it and maybe adjusted based on that.
By a field goal.
By a field goal. So maybe by the end of the week, we get it at around 10. I don't know if it moves that much, though.
I don't think it would move that much unless there's another injury to either team where it would. I'm talking a significant. I'm talking about like Milroe at practice.
It would have to be
Jarquez
Milroe.
Hunter hurt at practice. Something like that. But
800-239-WJOX. Let's go to Lee. Sure, he was excited this weekend. Lee, how are you?
Well, I'm doing fantastic, and right now I have to admit it's fabulous to be a Gator fan. No offense, Pat. I hope you don't hate me for that, but I will say one thing that the Gators showed. I think if they had played all year the way they played these last 2 games against LSU and Ole Miss, I think we'd be talking about a completely different story. But I guess more so what I wanted to say is nobody expects them to beat LSU. Nobody expects them to beat Ole Miss. Nobody expected Arkansas to beat Tennessee earlier in the year, or expected Vanderbilt to beat Alabama, or expected Auburn to beat Texas A&M. My point is that there is absolutely no other conference that is cannibalizing itself like the SEC. But in my opinion, that shows just how strong the SEC is compared to all the other conferences. No offense, I think you could take any of the top 4 teams in the SEC, and they could beat Ohio State or will possibly beat Ohio State or Oregon, but definitely Penn State, Indiana, or any of the other teams in the Big Ten. The SEC is just far and above the best league that there is. And I think, but with the parity also, because of all these upsets we've had throughout the year, I don't think there's any doubt the SEC is the best conference, But aside from that, I just had to take a victory lap for Florida. But let me ask you this. Do you think that Lagway and Ball, the two fabulous freshmen that are doing it for the Gators this year, do you think they'll both be back next year? And if so, do you think the Gators have a shot for next year then?
I do, Lee. Thank you for the phone call. Yeah, I think they're about to get paid. Whatever we always think about, hey, somebody's going to offer more. Well, there's always the chance that you re-up whatever your original NIL deal was, and you use this as leverage, and you're playing for your next contract. And I believe that's going to be the case. Not only, I'll go ahead and say it with Lagway, but also with Ball.
One thing's for sure, a lot of momentum for that Florida football program, because I saw where they flipped a 4-star that had committed from USC. They're now going to the University of Florida. So you see the momentum. One thing's for sure, you can be critical all you want to about Sunbelt Billy, but those kids never stopped playing for him the entire season. And so once it became a ball game and Lane was being Lane and making dumbass decisions on 3rd and 4th down, I mean, it became pretty apparent that this was going to be a problem. And I had no doubt in my mind that once I started Lane being Lane, that it was going to end the wrong way.
JJ Pegues had more carries than any running back for Ole Miss on Saturday. Just think about that.
Yeah, and so that was a big thing over the weekend. I had more family members ask me to reach out to some of my Ole Miss contacts because they wanted to know why Ulysses Bentley IV has disappeared. Why is he on a milk carton? Because this was the guy that was supposed to replace Quinshawn Judkins, okay? And he was the top player returning in the backfield, according to Pro Football Focus. And then yesterday, Lane Kiffin was actually asked about Bentley, and he said it's nothing off the field at all. He says he's a wonderful kid and does everything we ask for him. We just haven't been real consistent and productive in that spot this year. Tried something else yesterday. It is what it is. I mean, can you imagine that? Your top running back, and you say that we haven't been consistent and productive in that spot. I wanted to try something different. So how about this stat? And Conrad just mentioned it. The percentage of carries by position for Ole Miss versus Florida. The wide receiver defensive line position carried the ball 49% of the time against Florida. 49% of the time. Jackson Dart, the quarterback position, carried it 40% of the time. The running back position at Ole Miss only carried it 11% of all carries against Florida. So you got a defensive lineman in Pegues. You got your wide receivers on, the jet sweep, whatever you want to call it, 49%. Jackson Dart, 40% of the time. And the running back core at Ole Miss, 11%. That's way overthinking of Lane Kiffin and screwing the game plan.
Well, and what they do with their running backs out of the backfield, some of them, they're going to go down as receptions and not carries. But looking at his game log, the most that Ulysses Bentley has had in a game was in the I take that back. He had 13 carries versus Georgia for 28 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And then at LSU, he had 11 carries for 107 yards and a touchdown. So I guess that Lane Kiffin is looking at that and going, well, I can tell you in 2 of our losses, maybe prior to Saturday, when Ulysses touches the ball from the running back position, 10 or more times we lose. Maybe he's going with analytics. I don't know. Baffling,
That would be
though.
an interesting decision, yeah. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's easy to question things now.
Well, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I felt like this Florida defense and Ron Roberts, they would have a pretty good plan for what Ole Miss was going to do.
Well, you brought it up. Ole Miss was going to have to be really bad on 3rd down, and they were really bad on 3rd down.
Yep.
And 4th down.
Well, and 4th down, yes.
Just overall. More of your phone calls, 800-239-WJOX. Be patient. We will get you those calls. Reaction Monday, 3-man front and Jocks, 94.5.
It is Reaction Monday here on Three Man Front. The phone lines are open at 1-800-239-WJOX. It's also Black Friday all month long at Courtesy GMC. Save up to $15,000 off MSRP on remaining 24 GMC Sierras in stock. I was there on Thursday at Courtesy GMC in Trussville, and let me tell you something. Those trucks are outstanding. They have that Elevation Premium package with the X31 four-wheel drive off-road package, leather sunroof, heated seats, the multi-pro tailgate, the spring-in liner from the factory. It is absolutely loaded. They now have about 7 remaining. They had about 20 of them on the lot. These things are going fast. So again, Black Friday all month long there at Courtesy GMC, $15,000 off MSRP on that 2024 GMC Sierras. Don't forget about the Yukons, Yukon XLs, $9,000 off on the 2024s, and check out the new 2024 GMC Canyon. CourtesyBirmingham.com is the website. Go by and visit them in Trussville off of I-459 exit 32.
We will continue with your Reaction Monday here on the show. Always give you a chance to either gloat, ask questions, interact, or just vent. JT is in Jasper. Welcome in.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. How are y'all?
Good afternoon. We're doing well, JT. Hope you are.
Yes, sir. I still feel like DeBoer was the best option for Alabama, so I'm not panicking or anything like that. So when I bring up Mike Shula, I don't want you to think I'm going nuts. But Mike Shula had this thing he used to always say when someone talked to him about Jimmy Johns and the other player, Profaro. Do you have a plan for them to play out quarterback? Yes, I have a plan for them, and we'll use it when we need it. Well, Mike Shula was 0-19 games where he went into the fourth quarter tied or behind. So at some point in time in those 19 games, there should have been an opportunity to deploy this plan that they had. Having said that, and I'm fine with DeBoer, and things happen, I get it all. But when he said at the press conference, if your plan A doesn't work, you go to B, C, or D. I didn't see a B, C, or D at any point in time Saturday night.
Well, I think that's the thing that is very frustrating to a lot of fans. I think you're 100% accurate on that, is because in these type of games, when you've got somebody that's just obviously not having a very good night, Jalen Milroe is making bad decisions, trying to cut laterally instead of going north and south, and he wasn't throwing the football very well. I will say this. There were a couple of times that his tight ends and his wide receivers did not help him, that he threw really good balls. And those, Ryan Williams let a ball go right through his hands that probably 99 times out of 100, he catches that ball. Bernard lost one in the lights. C.J. Dupree was nowhere to be found. Cuevas in the second half, he made a couple
I think Jam missed one across the middle as well.
The one-handed catch by Cuevas was impressive.
Yeah, that was very impressive. But so I know that he's going to get the most of the blame, but there was a lot of decisions in that second half. I literally was texting with someone very close to the football team, and I was saying, are we about to see Simpson here? And he says, I would think that this is a conversation they're having on the headset, and then you never saw it. Milroe finished the game.
Well, and defensively, whatever was going into the game, once it became obvious on that first drive that they were basically going to try to Vanderbilt all night long, adjust then. I understand you got your scheme, but bring some folks up. If they are going to pass, if you're missing your first 5 wide receivers, which I know everybody's touched on this all day long and all weekend long, but go into the game plan, shutting them down and make them beat you passing. And it looked like it was, nope, we're going to do we're going to game plan to enforce our will upon the other team, and you can't do that. You have to game plan for what the other team's likely to do.
JT, we appreciate the phone call. JT there in Jasper. Let's continue. Let's go to Tony. He's in Lincoln, Alabama. Tony, welcome in.
Hey guys, good to hear y'all. Good to hear you show, and always enjoy the conversations.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the Maui Invitational starting tonight. With Auburn playing, I think it's Iowa.
Iowa State. They got Iowa State. Iowa State currently they're in the top 10.
Number 5.
Number 5. Yeah.
They're number 5, I believe. Yep. I'm looking forward to that. But also, I want to just say I think that this year, as far as radio commentators on sports talk shows, y'all have had a roller coaster ride this year, it seems like.
We definitely have.
1 week you're real up, and the next week you're real down. And I was at a wedding Saturday night. They had a large blow-up screen with the Alabama game on, and when I noticed nobody watching the game, I thought that might be saying something. I wasn't sure, so I looked at my phone and saw the score was 24-3. That's why nobody was watching the game. But after the last time Legend got on DeBoer, Coach DeBoer, real bad, they came back and beat LSU pretty handily. And so I think after Legend gets through with all his conversations, that Alabama will straighten up and they'll do the right things. And but I'm an Auburn fan, and I'm looking forward to a good Iron Bowl. And let's see, there was one more thing I wanted to say. The commissioner for SEC, I think his name is Mr. Sankey.
Greg Sankey. Yes.
He said a couple last week on a talk show that they were going to try to do something to try to get fans to stop throwing bottles on the field and tearing down goalposts. And I think probably the number one thing that would stop that is quit selling alcohol at ball games, because too much alcohol brings out the stupid in people.
That is true. Most of the time that does happen. Unfortunately, there's a lot of money that these universities now make off of alcohol sales, so that is not going to change.
A lot of money, I know. Yep. I know it's not. Okay, guys, thank you for what y'all do. I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Tony, thank you. You and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and by the way, of course, yesterday afternoon, the SEC gave the obligatory, the fines that they handed out to Auburn and Oklahoma. Auburn was fined $100,000, Oklahoma $200,000. I guess they were fined double because they rushed the field with 28 seconds left, and you had to get them off the field, and then they came back on the field. So that cost them $200,000.
Which is always so funny.
If you listen to this program, and it's probably going to be on my epitaph, the two things that I have said on this program: one, all coaches are liars. And number two, it is absolutely the most asinine thing in the world that this conference continues to let idiots on the field after a game. And for what happened at Auburn, that is ridiculous. Where has this program gone? I mean, the likes of Pat Dye and the way that this program used to be, why you're rushing the field after beating Texas A&M for your fifth win of the season, that's embarrassing. Just like it's embarrassing for Oklahoma to rush the field by beating an Alabama team that's not playing for a national championship, and it's not Texas. It is absolutely ridiculous. The SEC needs to ball up. They need to do something. They need to charge these schools $1 million. And then if $1 million is not enough to keep these clowns off the field, then you need to start forfeiting. That's what you need to do, because this is absolutely stupid. Everybody is wanting to do their selfies on the field. Mm-hmm. Auburn had all these recruits down there. That's why they did it. That's why they wanted to let everybody on the field tear the bushes off, is because we wanted to show these kids that we're trying to recruit, this is great, but it's stupid.
Well, Pat, this is not defending any of these fan bases that rush the field. I'm giving an explanation. Yes, you're right. Recruiting, I think some of the schools, they've embraced it, and they probably built that into their budget where, okay, if we get here's some miscellaneous things that we have in the slush fund for that. But I also believe now with fan bases, it has become, because of social media, it has become a trend. And for a much different reason, but you go back to, which was actually for a good cause, the Ice Bucket Challenge, whether it was how much cinnamon can you do, whatever. This has become with college football fans, the cinnamon thing, whatever that was.
How much cinnamon can you do?
Oh, cinnamon do. I couldn't remember if it was snorting it or actually just swallowing it.
The spoonful.
Okay, the spoonful. But it's become one of those things. And Pat, it's until the SEC starts mandating that schools put uniformed police officers, National Guard reservists around the field and put out a 93 million PSAs during the game on the Jumbotron.
Well, they had messages on the Jumbotron in Norman, Oklahoma.
I told Pat earlier, so when we were leaving the stadium, because I'll be honest, we walked out after the third interception with about, 5 minutes left in the game. And we were leaving the stadium, and there were Oklahoma students who had not attended the game because they probably thought, oh, we're going to get blown out by Alabama, who started running in the gates past security to get in the stadium and go storm the field.
Yeah.
There were signs in the swamp, too, telling them not to rush the field.
How many people rushed the field after beating Ole Miss?
Like none.
Oh, imagine that. It just makes no sense.
Nope.
I mean, okay, let's do our fancy LED
and
lights.
If you remember, though, Florida, they had proposed 2 things through legislation that made it a minimum of, if I can recall, 1 year of jail time. There was a fine, and that might have been passed. But to that, I was going to say, if you do something through legislation in your state, you propose a bill that addresses that and says, I mean, you're not going to make it a felony, but potentially if you're a repeat offender, if you throw that in there and you threaten jail time, you probably don't get it as much.
Well, obviously the Southeastern Conference, nobody really cares what they're doing because they continue to, say, okay, we're going to fine you for the first, second, third, fourth offense,
until
whatever the
enough
case
people
may be.
get hurt or somebody unfortunately loses their life, they're not.
I mean, that's the thing that is
bad.
amazing. I mean, you're running on the field after a heavily charged football game, one way or another. I mean, the Texas A&M kid drops a game-tying pass in the end zone.
Not to mention you got the LEDs going on and off, and it's kind of chaos in the dark with all of those people
I'm about to
running
have
down
an
there.
epileptic seizure because of the lights going on and off, and I'm trying to get off the field, and it's pitch dark, and I've got crazy fans running up in my face. I mean, you are asking for a lot of trouble. And for the life of me, for a conference that is so buttoned up, like the Southeastern Conference, they dot the I's, they cross the T's, they're very anal about everything else. But lo and behold, they can let any clown in the world jump on a field, and these universities laugh at you when you charge them $100,000. Oh, it's no problem. We would have paid $100,000 because the shot we got on ESPN of the drone shot of the thousands of kids on the field going crazy, that's worth it to us. That's cool marketing because people are going to go, man, I want to go to that school because they have a great student lifestyle. I want to go there.
Well, and maybe Auburn was like, this is our last chance to have these high profile recruits here. And they've watched Auburn lose and throw up over themselves and walk out disappointed for every other game this year.
But it's Auburn, man. You don't rush the field when you win the 5th game of the season. I mean, come on. That is ridiculous.
Apparently they do, Pat.
Well, obviously they do, and Hugh Freeze loved it, and that's great. That's what you want to do. You want to promote a 5-win football team, come rush the field, but this is Auburn football. You are supposed to be one of the upper echelon programs in the conference, and it's okay for you to rush the field with a 5-win team beating Texas A&M? Good Lord.
I had a buddy of mine that said, hey, why don't you put a 1-week ban on alcohol sales if it happens? The problem is...
But that hurts the university's bottom line.
Well, and also you would just slow down the lines getting into the game because then you would have to check everybody's pant leg, fake bottom, and purse, boots. They just bring their own in.
For the record, like I have been consistent, and you know me for a long time. I think I don't think anybody should be on the field ever. Period. Okay. But I can justify if you beat your biggest rival in a big game that potentially wins you a conference, berth.
You didn't have a problem
whatever.
with the kick six.
Absolutely not. Zero problem with that. But I'm just talking about the fact that you just won your 5th football game against Texas A&M and you're rushing the field. That's embarrassing. Seriously. Bottom line. That's just stupid.
You hit the nail on the head. It tells you what you think your program is right now.
You haven't been a ranked opponent since 2021.
Oh, yeah.
But that's okay because you want to go rush the field because it's the 5th win.
You never know when you're going to get another one, Pat.
Well, under a Hugh Freeze, that's obvious because it was only the second time that they've only beaten anybody. It's just, but I blame the conference. They're going to continue to allow these schools to do whatever they want to and continue to promote bad officiating in football games. The offensive pass interference call in the Auburn game was just atrocious. The crap that went on in Norman, Oklahoma was just as bad with Ryan Williams. But you won't ever hear anything from the refereeing portion of the Southeastern Conference. You're not going to hear anything from those people. All right, I'm done with my little soapbox. Go ahead and kick it out from underneath me.
Pat Smith for president 2028. We'll continue 3-Man Front Jocks 94.5.
We have a full bank of phone calls at 1-800-239-WJOX. This is Reaction Monday here on Three Man Front. Next hour, we will catch in with Bill Clark. We'll get his thoughts on the weekend that was in college football.
Well, we always want to remind you about our friends at UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine. From daily exercisers, youth athletes to elite professionals, UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine treats everyone with the same level of exceptional care. Board-certified professionals, state-of-the-art imaging and injury prevention programs. A comprehensive team is here to keep you in the game. Visit uabmedicine.org/sports or call 205-930-8339 to make an appointment. UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine, knowledge moving medicine forward.
1-800-239-WJOX. Back to the phones we go for the rest of this hour and most of next hour. Let's go now to the phones.
Let's go to Brent, talking about Auburn storming the field. Brent, welcome in.
Hey, fellas, enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a lifetime Auburn fan. We've had season tickets my whole life. Got a son down there right now. And so he texted me the afternoon of the game and says, we're talking about, the game, all stuff. He goes, yeah, there's talks about us storming the field if we win. And I think I sent a text with about 5 bullet points back to him. My first question was, why the heck would you storm the field beating the number 15 ranked team in the country? Second thing is, you don't plan to do that. Kick 6 was just an unbelievable experience. I was at the 82 Iron Bowl the first time we beat them in 10 years. Just so much emotion and fervor rushing the field. It's like to plan to rush the field to beat the number 15 team in the country. You're right. It's an embarrassment. And you're right. Getting the down there, they're putting on Instagram and all this junk, and it's like, even when we beat Alabama in 2017 and 2019, rushing the field, I was kind of sick to my stomach. So hoping this isn't a precedent for things to come, but unfortunately, it just kind of seems that's the way it is. So.
With you, Brent. Thank you for the phone call. And what he just mentioned, they're already talking about it because that's something that's in the forefront of their minds now. They see it on social media. Oh, well, those kids at that school get to do it. That looks like so much fun. Look at all the creative things they did on TikTok or Instagram or whatever platform they're on. We'll continue with the phone calls. Let's go to TR. He is in Birmingham. TR, welcome in.
What's up?
What's up?
Yeah, I guess to Pat, referring to us as clowns, I was on the field. I was on the field with my kids the other night.
Why?
It had nothing to do with us beating Texas A&M.
So what's the point in doing it then?
For me, I've got children that are 12 and 8 or 12 and 11, and they haven't seen. We've been there for it's been a rough couple of 5 or 6 years, and we were on that field because we finally had something. It was fun.
Okay. And TR, we thank you for the phone call. Hey, he was honest. He said it was fun, and it's been a rough couple of years. And my kids, they're only this old. Maybe they've never seen it. I don't know. Not defending, just trying to give an explanation. Glad that you guys were safe and there were no incidents that I was able to see. That should be their Christmas card this year.
I think we want to say the same thing.
Well, you could say it. Go ahead. 800-239-WJOX. The coach, Bill Clark, his weekly spot, recapping and looking ahead. He's next. 3-man front, Jocks 94.5, JocksFM.com, the Jocks 94.5 app, and wherever you find people stream. 1 o'clock, it's three-man front. A lot of your reaction coming in on the text line, entertaining. Because we can't get and read all of the text, I'm taking screenshots that I can enjoy over Thanksgiving dinner with my family. Thank you for always chiming in. 205-834-9450, 800-239-WJOX. Let's go back to the phone lines. Our buddy Pat is in Trussville. Pat, what's up?
Well, I was calling about storming the field, and part of the problem with storming the field is that they make an announcement throughout the game and stuff about if anybody storms the field, you're subject to be arrested. But does anybody know of anybody that's ever been arrested for storming the field?
It's probably catch and release, right?
I do, but it happened 20-something years ago. And it was at Jordan-Hare Stadium after knocking off the number one team in the country. But people started seeing guys getting tackled, not tased, but, handcuffed, zip-tied, and their eyes are screaming, and then that deterred others from running onto the field because the law enforcement made an example. Yeah.
See, I was on the field and as a Birmingham police officer whenever Tennessee beat Alabama for the first time whenever Peyton Manning directed the band.
Yeah.
And even though they didn't storm the field, there was enough of them that came onto the field in that end zone where the band was at that the police officers go into a protective mode because you're not sure exactly what direction things are going to go.
Right.
As far as that's concerned. And it's a very dangerous situation that people do not realize the danger. And the fact that somebody hasn't been injured more than they have is really and truly a miracle when you get down to it.
Yeah.
And I think that I think they need to shut down the gates and start bonding people out and making them come to court and find the people that stormed the field, not the schools.
Well, but here's the thing. I think that without them coming out and publicly saying it, Pat, we're seeing it from athletic departments and universities where they're retweeting, they're posting their own videos, their own captions of the screenshot, the overhead view from drones and other footage of the mass of humanity that is there. So without saying we condone it, they're basically saying we embrace this and this was an exciting win.
Absolutely. And the other thing I was going to mention was on the call in the Oklahoma game, that needs to be addressed because it really meant a hill of beans in this game of what the outcome was going to be. But what if that same thing happens in the SEC championship when it could have dictated the end of the game? And if those type situations are not corrected, they're destined to repeat themselves. And that should have been a correctable error that should have been looked at, reviewed, and corrected and made right. And here's the other side about it is Coach DeBoer had a right to be mad. However, if he gets too mad, the people that made the mistake that made him mad can throw a flag on him and penalize him more.
Good point.
And they were, when they were wrong in the first place. And if he says anything, he's fined or called out by the SEC office, and it's made public that he was called out. However, the ones that caused the whole situation, nobody ever hears about it.
Very true. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate the phone call very much. When it comes to plumbing, always have a pro on standby. That's Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They're family owned and operated. They handle everything: faucet repairs, water heater maintenance, commercial plumbing, sewer line repairs, and so much more. Give them a call today, 205-516-4927 or ironmountainworld.com.
And going back to that and what he said about not being reviewable, I think ineligible player downfield, illegal touching, illegal participation, all of those should be reviewable. You have the capability to do it and go back and make it right, especially if the results of the play is what it was.
I love the fact that in the UFL, they have the Super Challenge, right? Yeah. So, I mean, you can throw the flag on anything. So I think at one point in time, college needs to adopt something of that nature. If you have the technology and you've got all these different television angles and you've got a center somewhere that is reviewing this, doesn't matter if you're a group of 5 or a power of 4, they've got the technology. You should be able to challenge anything you want to. You will have repercussions if you fail the challenge, but I think it should all be reviewable.
Let's go to Greg. He's in Russellville. Greg, welcome in.
Hey, man.
Hey, Greg.
Happy Monday.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, I was just going to mention a couple of little things right quick. I told him on the phone. As far as the Alabama game, right immediately at the third quarter when we've shown we weren't going to do any better than the first half, in the third quarter, I quit watching it. I turned it off. I had enough of it. So it's ridiculous to go out and lay that kind of egg when you got all that riding on the line.
I think that's the thing that disappointed a lot of people is because it wasn't just a middle of the season conference game. I mean, you had the potential of going to Atlanta. You had the inside track of playing for an SEC title. And on top of that, you were one of the teams squarely in the college football playoff. And within a 60-minute period in Norman, Oklahoma, that all went out the window.
Well, I've never had this, but I played football myself, and I have never gone along with this deal saying it's hard to get up every week and all that. Well, in football, you ain't got that many weeks. I mean, it's not like you're getting up 3 times a week for basketball.
True.
I mean, so anyway, that's the spill on Alabama. As far as Auburn, you remember I called in, I think it was Thursday, and predicted Texas A&M to win that game. And about Friday night, I got a phone call from my old business colleague that's from Texas that went to Texas A&M, and he called and said, "Would you want to go to the ball game with me?" And I said, "Well, no, I think I'll skip, but come by, swing by and we'll have dinner or something, on Sunday." Well, he told me that he was afraid they were going to lose because everybody at College Station was not talking anything about Auburn. Everything they were talking about was Texas, and the football players were even like that on campus.
Yeah, so, Auburn actually put out from Auburn football. They put out the clip of Elko during the week when he was asked about it. He said, "Our total focus is on Auburn." And they put that out. And they said good luck versus Texas. I thought it was actually pretty good.
That was good.
I wouldn't like going to Auburn in a night game if they were 0-9.
You got that right.
It's haunted.
Anyway,
ask Nick Saban.
Congratulations to Auburn on that win.
Well, congratulations to you because your better half was probably in a good mood, and that could have meant good things for Greg.
You know what she did? She never did watch one down of it. I told her they're winning and all this. Went to overtime. She said, "I've had enough." If they go, like I told you last week, she said, if they go to a bowl game, they'll find a way to lose to some team that's terrible. So she said, and as far as the storming, this is my last thing. Wasn't it the Arizona State game where the reporter that interviews the coaches got run over when they stormed the field? And
Taylor McGregor. Taylor McGregor. Yeah.
So I was just I didn't know if anybody saw that or not. But anyway, that's all I had, guys.
Thank you, Greg.
Have a great week.
You too.
Appreciate it.
All right. Some interesting audio is coming out of Auburn. DeMarcus Riddick, Auburn linebacker. Now, is this the audio of him talking about Milroe?
Yes.
Okay, because there's some other audio that's out there that we're trying to get. He apparently took some shots at Ryan Williams. So nothing like getting some good bulletin board or social media material the week of the Iron Bowl. All right, so this is we will try to get the audio of him talking about Ryan Williams, but this is courtesy of Channel 42, correct, here in Birmingham. This is what DeMarcus Riddick had to say about facing Jalen Milroe.
It's going to be a real important to this game. I would say, he is a good quarterback. He's fast, but, he's not faster than me. I'm pretty just that. He will not get out that box this week, and that's something I'm going to have to work on all week this week at practice and something that some of the guys are going to have to help me with.
He also said that Ryan Williams ain't no big-time player to me. Goes on to say, I will not lose to Bama while I'm here.
Well, if you've already gone that far, why not? Boy.
Ryan Williams ain't no big-time player to me.
Maybe he's not, Pat.
Maybe he hadn't seen the highlights of Ryan Williams. That'd have been funny if he had have said, well, if he could stay in bounds, wouldn't be a problem.
that, just you get a collective sigh when any coach, probably some teammates, go and watch that video.
So, why would you do that?
Also, I feel like it's not often you see a linebacker criticizing a wide receiver. It's normally a defensive back.
Yeah, it's usually a
that's
DB
doing
that's
that, not
throwing,
a linebacker.
throwing smack.
But Pat, if Alabama needs the bulletin board material from a comment from an Auburn true freshman that was just playing last year at Chilton County High School, then they got bigger problems.
Did you see the game Saturday night?
Will Alabama storm the field if they beat
Touché,
Auburn on
right?
Saturday? That's the question.
Bill Clark's going to join us in about
invite him to.
5 to 6 minutes from now. So his normal slot, as we're trying to get as many phone calls as we can. We got a full bank. So we'll continue with the calls at 1-800-239-WJOX.
All right, let's go to, we'll break it up. He's been waiting a while. PG, what's up?
Hey, guys, what's up? Well, guys, I might eat crow for a little bit. Old Sunbelt Billy's pulling out the rabbit out of the hat.
He sure is. Contract extension, PG.
Oh, God. Hey, I'm thinking, just wait. If they give him a contract extension this week and he loses to FSU,
oh my.
It's going to think about it. I mean, he's got his name. He's doing great. Recruiting's picking up. And then he blows it against FSU.
Hey, PG, just think about this. Florida might end up with a better bowl than Alabama.
Well, I was hoping they'd come to Birmingham Bowl where I could go watch them. They'll probably go to the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa or something. But,
so Alabama might end up in
there.
Protective Stadium, right, Langell? Isn't that right?
Yeah, I would love them to be there. I could go see them. Hey, guys,
too.
was Molly down there at with the Napier family or something down there at Gainesville?
We weren't with the Napier family, but we were at the game and we had a great time.
Oh, awesome.
Swamp
How'd
was
you like it down there?
loud.
She was with the Urban Meyer family.
No, not them either.
She was with the Jim McElwain family.
No, not them either.
Was any sharks around? No.
Hashtag Swamp.
Hey, no, be honest with you, man. That's I'm glad you went down and enjoyed it. Is that the first time you've ever been to Gainesville?
Yeah, that was the first time, and it was great. I loved it.
We were really
Great.
disappointed,
Yeah.
though. We asked her about Cafe Risque, and she said they didn't go.
We did not stop by, unfortunately.
Yeah, favorites. Billboards are still up. Hey, with storming the field, Florida, Spurrier made that comment. I said, Spurrier, you know what it's going to cost if you're going to pay it if they storm the field. Florida does not need to storm no field on any game. I just can't see the Gators ever storming the
I don't
field,
remember them
the
doing
fans.
that back in the heyday of Spurrier.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think Spurrier allowed it. Now, he told them not to do it. Or, the fans, he told them, don't ever do this. So, how Steve is, so they listened back then. But I can recall Florida ever storming the field, I mean, when we were pretty good in the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it is what it is. I'm afraid. I tried to storm the field one time at the Tampa Bay Bucks game when we won our first home game after 26 straight losses. And I got knocked in the head with a billy club.
Hey, so I'm looking at this. According to the Gainesville Sun, when Florida upset Florida State in Tallahassee in 1982, they rushed the field and took down the goalpost.
In Tallahassee.
But it goes on to say, I think most Florida fans like the idea, but they don't do it at home because winning is said to be an expectation, not a surprise.
1982. Boy, that's a long time
We'll have
ago.
to ask FSU Dave that tomorrow.
Uh-oh, he'll know. He's
I
a
was
Walker
ripping
fan.
that on the fly, but that's what I was able to find.
Wow, 1982. I'll have to look that up. Guys, great for me. Like I said, I know Alabama's going. That was a tough loss. I mean, just to see that game. But hey, I hope better days are ahead. So, at least you're not like us. Our records.
PG,
So,
join us
we're just
tomorrow.
happy.
Social Taco.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's go to Sam. He wants to talk about storming a field. Hey, Sam.
Hey, guys.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so y'all seem pretty partial on them not storming the field, but possibly just for like big occasions. If it happens, it's momentum, and it's pretty cool experience for the people who maybe went to a championship or whatever else. But what do you think about if Alabama either storms the field or Auburn does next week?
What? Just how would we react to that?
What are your thoughts? Do you think it's just kind of equally as stupid if either one of them do, since it's kind of like they're not going anywhere big for this season?
Yeah, I can't see it in this moment. Yeah, it's a rivalry game, but there's been plenty of games that set up, maybe not recently like this one with the teams and what's to play for, where you didn't have a field storming.
Did I miss Alabama fans rushing the field at Jordan-Hare after Gravedigger last year on this date 1 year ago?
Now,
did Alabama fans rush Jordan-Hare's field?
If you rush field in opponent stadium, you're asking for it.
Yeah.
I would not advise it. I don't like it from the standpoint of doing what I do on a Saturday. I don't care what the reason. The mass of humanity running at you in a wall, and a lot of them are just going crazy and half of them don't even know that they're there. Let's be honest. It makes me very, very uncomfortable because of the uncertainty and the unpredictability. And that's what we heard from one of our callers who used to be a Birmingham cop. You don't know.
I saw a video of some Georgia players kind of giving their testimony about when the field was rushed against them. Just kind of like that they had some of their team, and they were very thankful for their staff because people were trying to hit them, run into them, and they protected them. But it's like, if they're not there to protect them, I mean, and not every player is going to get protected. They kind of get like lost in the crowd. So,
have you ever been to a concert or a big event where everybody's kind of scrunched in tight and there's really nowhere to go? And all of a sudden a fight breaks out, and it might be about 30 yards away from you, but by the time they really get to going at it, it's right up on you, and then everybody starts falling over. That's not a fun feeling.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially for the players. I mean, the players are just trying to get to the tunnel.
Yeah.
And they can't even do that now.
Something bad is going to happen, unfortunately, and that's when a lot of these schools are going to do something.
Do you see, if they start putting the responsibility on the colleges, I mean, why are we not seeing repercussions for the people whose sole job is to keep people off the field? Like, why are people either not being fired or replaced?
Because I'm sure they said they don't have enough personnel, and they're not going to. Well,
you can already see it. If your kid runs onto the field, they've been told don't, but you don't have enough people to prevent them from doing it. Your child dies tragically. Yeah. You don't think that attorney is going to start picking apart things that are in place either by the Southeastern Conference, that campus, the school? They're going to be named in the lawsuit. It's kind of like when you go out of town, your neighbor is not supposed to come and use your pool without you knowing about it. But if you don't have a fence or something that clearly states that, you could be liable.
I just think the SEC has been too quiet publicly about a lot of issues, and it's going to bite back. A kid is going to get trampled. It's going to be tragic, or something's going to happen to a player. And what's going to I mean, it's going to happen. It will happen. I mean, especially with how much it's happened this year. And, I mean, it's probably what happened about a half a dozen times this year in the SEC.
Yeah, it has.
So, I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, you expect this to just be fine and dandy for the next year or two? I mean, it's not going to be. It's like, you can't put that tens of thousands of people in one place running in chaos, flashing freaking strobe lights like Auburn's idiotic team did, like, and expect someone not to get kicked in the head. And
yep, we appreciate the phone call, Sam.
I had a former police officer just texted me. It was someone you guys met during the Rickwick Classic, and he was telling me that at large concerts, the way they base their, I guess, the security, or I guess off the duty police officers, it's usually 250 patrons to one officer. That's the ratio.
Yeah.
So go ahead and maybe start some doing of these, the math when there's
maybe
85,000 people there.
Maybe under the terms when you purchase a ticket or you're a ticket holder, some of that is covered by legal, but it's still probably not going to deter an attorney in a wrongful death lawsuit from going and trying to pick that apart.
Now is the right time to talk about the health and safety of your trees in your yard with a certified expert. Golston Tree Service is that expert. 205-337-4018. Family owned and operated for over 35 years. No job is too big or small. From trimming to removal to grinding the stump and the roots out and hauling away, everything where your yard is pristine. 24-hour emergency service. That's key at Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4018. That is Golston Tree Service. Coach Bill Clark will join us next on this Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. $123 Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday. Joining us now on the Buyers Ride Hotline to kind of recap another crazy weekend in the world of college football. Bill Clark, former UAB head coach, former head coach at Jacksonville State.
You think Coach Clark is in favor of field storming?
I would think that coach would say as long as his players got off the field, he's okay with people having fun. But I'm not going to put words in Coach Clark's mouth. I'll let Coach Clark answer that question.
Coach?
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Good. Doing great.
Yeah. You know, I think for me, it's all about, I think just safety, as long as everybody's safe. I think that's part of college football that we love, that is the fans. I used to say that at UAB and other places, is that, you've got to have fans and a great crowd and a great atmosphere. That's part of it. You want them at your place. So obviously when you go on the road, you've got to expect that. And that's what it looks like. As long as we keep everybody safe, I agree with that for sure.
I do want to get into the weeds a little bit because this is an Oklahoma defense that we talked about a good bit. And it was the matchup that they had with Tennessee. The first time we had kind of seen that Tennessee offense not absolutely for 60 minutes have their way with another defense. What did you see from that defense and what they were able to do in limiting Alabama offensively all night?
Well, I think we go back to things we've discussed on this show and on my show. A week, an open date at this point of the season is so huge. And especially when you got somebody that is very knowledgeable, Coach Venables, there's no doubt defensively. And I think that's what you saw. You saw somebody had an extra week to prepare, knows what he's doing. You got a multitude of looks. And I think that's where you saw those things that were giveaways. Like, we're not going to let his, Milroe's feet beat us, or try not to. All those things that they did, taking away some of those short, easy throws, not letting him scramble. And that's what happens. You had somebody with an open date, obviously, then we can flip it around and talk about Oklahoma's offense here in a second. But I think somebody that really understood what they were doing with defense, multiple looks, and really just gave him some things that he hadn't seen. Specifically took the run game away from him, the quarterback run.
All right, so not asking what you would do, but I guess I really am. If you see your quarterback struggling in the second half of a football game and your back's up against the wall, do you believe that it was maybe a discussion on the headsets between Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan in regards to maybe a quarterback change there in the second half, because it just was not working?
That would be a hard one to do, is, with what he's done for your team all year. I mean, it's something you always consider if they're just something you feel like he's just that far off. I'm sure in their mind they felt like they were in it to the very end. You had the crazy penalty, that was called against them that would have cut it to a 2-score lead. But I think, obviously Oklahoma had really just scouted them, had a great plan, and then they fit their offensive plan fitted so well. I don't know. I don't see making that change myself, just because he's got you where you are. I know that's different than some people think, but I probably would not have done that in that game myself.
Coach, I do want to follow up what you just said, and you can go seminar here on teaching the layman college football fan, but I think that the illegal touching call, some people, not that was new to them, but they assumed that it just involved a player running out of bounds, coming back onto the field of play. Describe what illegal touching in that instance is and what you believe the referee saw or didn't see.
Yeah, I think what I saw as I watched it, I thought that would be what we would all think, that it was a going out of bounds and a return to play. I really, be honest with you, I don't know what he saw that made sense to me.
He was saying he was covered up, right, Coach? I mean, wasn't that the original explanation?
He was. Yeah, that's all I understood, that he was covered up. And, that was a trips over formation, which meant you had 3 receivers and you had a tight end on the end man of line of scrimmage. So the tight end was the man that was covered. The 3 receivers were not. And the guy just blew it. He just missed it. And the reason you put the tight end over to that side was for protection purposes, where you had a stronger field protection. And I would have to go back and study where the running back ended up. I would assume he ended up to the backside of it, but that's just a simple trips over formation, which makes the third guy, the fourth guy, the inside guy on the line of scrimmage, ineligible. And usually you're going to leave a number 1 to the backside, or, so it's just a different way of protecting the field, maybe from field pressure. So it was exactly what it should have been. He just messed it up. And that's when you would love to have the ability to at least go back and look at that. They can look at everything else. You would assume that would be something they could have gone back and looked at. I know that's not in the rules, but that's what you would like to see. And I think all coaches just want to see it gotten right. And that's why I think we were all confused, I guess, to Landrum's question. That's not the illegal touching we think of. Mm-hmm. We think of him coming out of bounds and back in, but it was really, they were saying he was covered anyway.
All right, Coach, a big win for the Auburn Tigers, a 4-overtime extravaganza down at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Auburn once again got the running game going. They jumped out to a 21-0 lead. This sets up for a potential of one of the very best Iron Bowls we've had in quite some time. But just your thoughts on this Auburn football team kind of propelling itself into the potential of maybe getting a bowl after this very frustrating season.
Yeah, I mean, what a great game. And I tell you what you got to give them credit for. Obviously, they jump out to the big lead. They play great. Here comes Texas A&M, who really has all the momentum. And there's those drives at the end of the fourth quarter where, I think everybody probably felt like Texas A&M is driving to win the game, and Auburn holds them, I think to a field goal at that point. But just their defense really stood up time after time. It was just a great back and forth, finding all those ways and all the different, the overtime periods to be there at the end and make plays. And obviously the guy drops the ball at the end, which, but Auburn, had caught their balls. So terrific game. And I think to this point, man, this is what you want. Auburn, has the big win, in Alabama. Whether they had struggled or not, I think that would have led to a great game, but especially with what's happened there, with the loss to Oklahoma, we really got us a great matchup.
No, we're going to talk about it on the Bill Clark Show that airs here on Jocks 94.5 every single Thursday at 6 p.m. But right now, given the way that Alabama defended or the lack thereof, the run, the read option, what would you do? What would you be thinking immediately if you're Hugh Freeze and that brain trust on how you want to attack Alabama?
Well, you saw what we saw from Auburn. That was kind of like what you've been looking for all year. Obviously, you had the one really, really bad turnover, but quarterback played very well minus the one bad turnover. I think obviously what happened the week of Mercer? What did Alabama do that week? Did they prepare for Auburn? Did they spend a little time in Oklahoma? Where did they prepare? Obviously, both of them were thinking about Oklahoma and Texas A&M. So, but they've got all these guys that are working ahead. So, if I'm Auburn, you really want to do what they did. And I know that sounds like the easy thing to say, but they took vertical shots. They ran the ball well. They got their ball to their playmakers at receiver. They fed Hunter. And they played really good defense for the most part. So I think they've got to feel like, okay, if we can repeat that formula, we've got every chance.
The formula for success, your friends there at Donahue Chevrolet, DonahueChevrolet.com. They make your visit possible every single week here on Three Man Front. And, Coach, you've got a long-standing relationships with those folks.
Oh, my gosh. The guys at Donahue are so great. Obviously, we talk all the time about taking care of us at UAB and just what a great job they do. Obviously, I love my Tahoe, and you go to Chevrolet, DonahueChevrolet.com and check out all their deals they got going. And of course, they're always taking care of first responders and teachers and military folks as well. So no dealer doc fees as well.
Coach, we always appreciate it. Thank you. We'll see you very soon.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Bill Clark, courtesy of Donahue Chevrolet. All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right hotline for all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
When we come back on Three Man Front, we'll play a little bit more audio coming from Auburn University. Players are meeting with the media. Maybe some bulletin board material. Maybe it's truth. Maybe it's fact. We'll see come Saturday. We'll play that for you next on Three Man Front. Okay, so we got some rain coming in central Alabama in the next couple of days. Got a cold front coming in here at the later part of the week. So imagine my surprise a couple of years ago. Got a storm, and all of a sudden I look up in my keeping room right off my kitchen, and I notice a little spot on my ceiling. I said, oh, that's not good. So I went outside and I looked, and I had some debris on the roof of my house. And so I called Travis Lloyd at Abide Roofing, 205-922-7134. I said, Travis, I think I got a problem. He came over to my house. He got up in the attic. Then he got up on my roof, and he identified that I had some storm damage. And so then at that point in time, I called my insurance company. He's on the roof with an adjuster from my insurance company. And lo and behold, he was able to work with my insurance company. He handled all that process. It was just seamless. And on top of that, I was able to get that roof fixed. And I have the peace of mind of knowing that it was done by the very best in the roofing business. And that is Abide Roofing, 205-922-7134. Go to their website, abideroof.com. Travis Lloyd and his team, they use the very best materials. There's a lot of roofing companies out there, but there's only one, Abide Roofing, and I give them 100% of my business anytime I've got issues. Licensed, bonded, insured, and just true pros in the profession. That is Abide Roofing, 205-922-7134. Let them get on your roof and check it out in case you think you have an issue or you got these storms coming up and you got some loose shingles. They can take care of that. That is Abide Roofing, abideroof.com.
By the way, I was looking at DeMarcus Riddick, Auburn, outside linebacker, and what his 40 time was. And at a Georgia camp during high school that he attended, he was clocked at 4.4 in the 40.
And what was Ryan Williams?
I don't know, but he seems like he's really, really fast.
And
if you asked me who was faster without knowing any of that, I would have said Ryan Williams.
And I think Jalen Milroe was clock going when he scored that one touchdown at LSU was 20
faster than a cheetah.
Was 25 miles an hour, something like that?
Yeah, I thought I'm 23, 25, something like that.
Okay, so Riddick met with the media. This is making national headlines. This is big. Take a listen. This is more than just the clip that we played a few minutes ago. This clip is courtesy of
ABC 3340.
ABC 3340. Johnny Condon, our good friend, there at ABC 3340. This is audio courtesy of him and that station. This is the way it sounded like a few minutes ago.
Ryan Williams is Ryan Williams. I mean, yeah, he's illiterate. He's all this and that, but in my eyes, he ain't really nobody to me. Ryan Williams is himself. He ain't no big time player to me. Like I said, Bama is a big rival team. Every rival team I played, I never lost to. And I will not lose to Bama while I'm here. I mean, he is a good quarterback. He's fast, but I mean, he's not faster than me. I'm pretty just that. Like, he will not get out that box this week.
Well, if you're going to put it out there, you better be ready to back it up. So, I don't know what else to say.
Good old freshman.
There's another reason why Nick Saban would not let a lot of freshmen talk.
Yep. I would love to see the, I guess the SID or whoever's there while they're monitoring the players as they're doing their media availability, just look on their face of maybe wouldn't have gone there.
Well, I would say that Hugh Freeze would be upset with it, but Hugh Freeze is not on Twitter.
So his daughter will be upset.
So his daughter will text him and say, Papa, don't look at Twitter. This is what's being said.
Did she call him Papa?
I have no idea. I was just
Papa.
That was just an embellishment on my behalf.
Papa.
Daddy.
Father.
Parental unit.
Father. I have perused the social media. I have found something inflammatory that I think that you will be disgusted at.
You will not be pleased with one of these young men that have opened their mouth and stuck their foot in it.
By the way, the ocean liner has arrived and our shipment of goods is here. All right, let's go to Don. Welcome in.
Hey, guys. How much fun y'all having today, fellas?
Oh, it's been great. I love Reaction Monday.
If we were any better, we'd be twins.
Yeah, I hear you. We're going to have a good time tomorrow at Social Taco, of course, too.
Woo!
It's going to be a very interesting day. Bama Hater's ready for y'all guys. I've been texting him all morning. He's ready.
Ready
for what?
What?
He wants y'all to put him on the air again tomorrow.
Why?
I think you know.
No, I mean I really don't. I mean, what's to talk about? Alabama's not going to the college football playoff.
We're not
Well,
defending. We're not saying that they should be in the college football playoff.
No, we're not.
So
it's just like what's
that kind of
there to-
goes against his
what's to talk about.
his normal talking points, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you know him, guys. He's gonna say something about Alabama every week and everything, but here or there. But I want to make a remark, Pat. I agree with you about storming the field and everything. It is kind of embarrassing, but what happened? I think you guys know about the recruits where they sit at Auburn, right behind. They sit right behind where the last play happened. And actually, the guys, the first recruits, what the first people on the field were all my commitments. And I'm not going to defend it. I think it's embarrassing too, Pat, because I'm like you. I'm old school, and I just think storming the field is ridiculous. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Don.
Thank you.
Appreciate the phone call. We'll continue reaction Monday here on the show. A lot of texts that we need to get to. 205-834-9450. Three-man front and Jocks 94.5 as we continue here on this Monday.
Okay, so Jacob Waters, who covers Auburn University for the Opelika Auburn News, he's just posted a quote from Cam Coleman about going into Bryant-Denny Stadium for the Iron Bowl this Saturday. This is a direct from Jacob Waters, who covers the team. He says, really a revenge tour. We're going in their place, and we're really just going in to get into their crib and just take over and have fun while we're doing it. This is going to be some of the last memories we make with each other, so let's go make it a memorable game.
Now, is he saying he's not going to be back, or is he saying for the guys who are not going to be there? Let's read into that.
But we're going to go into their crib and just take over and have fun while we're doing it.
How many games they won this year?
5, but
it's about to be 6.
They do have a 1-game winning streak.
They have a 2-game winning streak.
Or a 2-game. Or is Alabama?
See, that was something nice about Auburn.
Yeah, it was condescending. Doesn't count.
We're going into their crib and just take over and have fun while doing it.
They very well might.
I don't want to downplay the significance of this. And they if they need to be confident, any team does.
Absolutely.
Going into a matchup. I think the bulletin board stuff is overplayed as far as how much it affects a game. Could affect some jawing early on. Could affect late in the game when you burn somebody in coverage. If it's, oh, you like that exchange, but really doesn't matter. If Alabama plays defense like they did Saturday in Norman, they will get beat.
Yes, they will. I agree with that. If you get Alabama like you got against Oklahoma, Auburn beat them by 3 touchdowns in Bryant-Denny.
And that will have nothing to do with what DeMarcus Riddick had to say.
No.
800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450. Reaction Monday continues.
Just the start to Reaction Monday, because coming up at the top of the hour, Paul Feinbaum and I have been texting earlier. Should be a really, really lively next 4 hours here on Jocks 94.5. Reminder, you can hear the Auburn broadcast this Saturday at 11:30 here on Jocks 94.5. Jocks 2 will have the UAB football game against Charlotte. Landrum will be there in the Queen City. I will be in the studio.
Really disappointed Biff's not going to be on the opposing sideline.
Blazers Sports Network for the final game of the season for the Blazers, coming off a big win over the weekend against the Rice Owls.
I wanted to see if the sleeveless and those pythons coming out of the sleeveless hoodie were as big as advertised.
Speaking of UAB basketball got a big win there in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands.
Nice win.
Mm-hmm.
Over the University of Louisiana.
That's right. So Blazers finished in 7th place in the Paradise Jam tournament. Why are you laughing, Conrad?
I'm not.
Let's go back to your phone calls. 800-239-WJOX. Chris, welcome in.
Hey guys, happy Reaction Monday. A solution maybe for the storming the field. I think it would work. Just announce that we're going to limit alcohol sales for the next home game, and that aligns the university. They don't want to miss out on those alcohol revenues the next game, and sort of take a page out of targeting kind of rules making. And we're not going to have alcohol if you storm the field, and that'll carry over to the next season if it in fact was the last game. Thoughts?
I'm willing to try anything for some of these, because now, and again, it's not saying never storm the field, but it's now become where you used to see it every blue moon. Seems like we're getting 5 of them a weekend, and we were getting it in college basketball last year. Remember when that became the growing trend? But if it's a heavy fine to the university, I don't know how much that really affects. I don't think it does. Students don't care if the university is going to be paying more. If it potentially means alcohol, banning alcohol sales, well, that hurts the university. That hurts revenue. But how many of those kids are going to get the memo? And then how many people are storming the field? Either A, don't drink, or B, aren't of age, and so they're coming in already loaded.
Yeah, good thoughts.
But it's a good thought. Yeah. I like the idea of drawing up the net where people just get tangled up in the net and there's no way to access the field if you really want to keep them off.
Those will be good images.
Yeah. Right? Drunk kid hung up in net. What could go wrong?
Well, enjoy your Monday.
Hey,
Thank
you as well. We appreciate the phone call, Chris. 205-834-9450. A lot of interaction on not only social media, but the text line.
Try to see how many you can get through, because you got 1 million of them.
Oof. All right, here we go.
All right, here we go, Conrad. We're going to go lightning round.
This isn't even all of them, but I'm going to just scroll back to. Okay.
Let's see how many you can get through in the next 5 minutes.
All right, let's go. Jason texting the show. So how's that for chaos, guys? Now Tennessee can avoid doing what I call Tennessee things against Vandy. Looks like Tennessee's going to be in. Again, no context, no time reference to the show. This could be something.
Right.
All right. Mitchell. This is Mitchell. What I seen Saturday with the Alabama game is a lack of leadership, lack of developing players, and coaches not making second half adjustments. That's a recipe of disaster in itself right there. It was just all around a losing effort for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And if they don't make some changes quick, they're going to lose to Auburn. 2 weeks ago, Sheridan took a victory lap at LSU. Don't forget that.
Yep.
He did. Left the box, came down to the field early.
Alabama circles games now. Mark, thank you. Do we think Bama gets ice cream this week?
No.
If so, it's got to be like that skinny cow.
They're getting, what is it,
sugar-free
or whatever?
Sugar-free ice cream.
And no music being played.
No music.
I feel like DeBoer's offensive mindset is based on more explosive plays. In the SEC, you got to have more balanced and grind out some offense when you have to. Also, Jeremy Pruitt was mentioned. Can we please get him on the staff now?
No. Still can't.
Auburn should consider getting rid of DJ Durkin. He's just not a defensive coordinator.
What?
What?
Ooh.
Man.
All right.
BB here. Bama looked so flat-footed, and the play calling was really a head-scratcher. Nonetheless, y'all have a blessed Thanksgiving. Much more to life than football.
Thank you, BB.
If DeBoer loses to Auburn, I don't really care if it's year one. You have to fire him. Missing the 12-team playoff and losing to your two biggest rivals in Vandy doesn't cut it at Alabama. I like DeBoer and think he's going to do well, but 8-4 and losing to Auburn and Tennessee in year one is a deal breaker.
There it is. I was waiting for one of those. We were going to get it today at some point.
Sam says, I've seen several scenarios that would have Bama sneak in the back door of the playoffs. As a Bama fan, that makes me sick to my stomach. This team don't belong in the high school playoffs. That was a good one. Normally, when Bama loses, social media is blaming a coordinator or the refs. This time, there were people accusing Milroe of being paid off. Very disturbing. That's this kid's character would be questioned after a game.
It is funny because I saw some things online where people actually brought that subject up, but earlier in the day, they were saying the same thing about Jackson Dart.
Yeah. No, Jalen Milroe's just bad on Saturday. It's the reality of it.
Pat sounds like a pissed off Bama fan today. Sorry, OU spanked that tail. Well, it's actually he's pissed off about Ole Miss losing to Florida.
Yes, that's the real reason.
Pat has officially become the get off my lawn guy. Do you allow people on your lawn?
No, it's get off my field guy. That's me.
Get out of my moat.
What's natural grass? Get out of my moat. You would invite people to come on your lawn if they were actually cutting it.
Absolutely, or picking up some leaves. Come on.
How many field rushes this year versus past years? We'd have to look.
It's record numbers.
Been a lot.
In every conference.
There were 3 this past Saturday?
Not just in the SEC.
Jamie says, I agree with Pat Smith. Forfeit it. You say forfeit it?
I listen, to me, you always hit them in the pocketbook, which is go as far north as you can.
Yeah. And while they're not going to care, then the university's going to care and they're going to put they're going to take preventative steps to keep you from going on the field.
I'm not in favor. It's just like when the NCAA would take away wins because you played them on the field. And I'm not in favor of taking away a game because of that, because of a technicality. But I am for hurting them in the pocketbook.
Molly, you'll like this one. George Kliakoff's burner phone says, I always snort cinnamon after I rush the field.
That's great. No, it's not. Don't do that.
You kids at Nebraska started it. Snorting of the cinnamon.
I'm not too sure about that one.
This is why I don't like Spurrier saying a week ago that Florida fans should rush the field after beating LSU. Whether or not he was joking, that is not the standard, especially at being 4-5 at the time. Brandon says Pat's mad because Auburn will have a better signing class than UAT. Again, I think it's more about Ole Miss and potentially.
I love people trying to defend the fact that you rushed the field when you won your 5th football game. Like what? I've been covering this team for 30 years. This is just unbelievable. People trying to give me a reason why they did it.
It was fun.
Yeah, sure.
And finally, I think the fan base is over Jalen Milroe.
I agree with that.
Based on what Conrad is shaking his head wildly, yes.
It's been a fun ride. Kind of.
Paul
That's gonna do it for
Feinbaum.
us.
That's going to be a lot of fun coming up. 4 hours of Paul next.